on my
What is
PS4.
up, guys? Oh, got it. God, I gotta start the show. Shh.
Wait.
What is up, guys? My name is SeanFlac 2.0, and welcome to another episode, our third episode of the Shadow Pack Squares. With me on today's show, I have the Crimson Shield Scholar, which is right here. Elf Daddy. What's up, Elf Daddy? We got Potion Masters up there in the corner, all the way over there. And right next to me here, we got StealthKing 500. How are we doing today, guys?
Good. How are you?
Angle does not flatter my chin at all. I hate it.
But I love your glasses. So if you wouldn't have ever said anything, we could have just not focused on that.
You look fine.
Yeah, stop it.
Thank you.
I'm trying to be
Doing
part of the
good,
hoodie
Elf Daddy.
crew.
Hoodie crew represent. Yay.
I gotta find the hoodie I want.
My hoodie is so far away from me, and I'm way too lazy to go get it.
Own that
No,
shit.
I know the hoodie you want.
All right, guys. So
Okay.
today we are going to be talking about. So today was Elf's Day. So Elf is going to be doing a lot of the show, or we watched a movie last night called Moonchild. I really liked it, but we'll get into the full details here shortly. Before we do get started, obviously we got to take care of some business. We are part of the Shadow Pack stream team here on Twitch. You can go ahead and check our website out. I'll go ahead and throw that in the chat. ShadowPackGaming.com. You can find all of our website information and website bios. 3 out of 5 of us have interviews, so if you want to get to know, we got Stealth over here, we got Elf right there, or Crimson right there. If you want to get to know them a little bit better, you can check out their YouTube interviews on the website as well. Obviously, we got merch, we got our Streamer of the Month, and I believe that, did that get announced today? I think that got announced today. So, congratulations to Bamarai 13 for being April's...
Bam the man.
To be April's Shadow Pack Streamer of the Month. So anyway, you want to check out us and check out all the information for our stream team, go ahead and click the link that's there in the chat. Obviously, you can follow us on Twitter, so if you guys got any questions, comments, or emotional outbursts, I threw that in the chat. And finally, last but not least, we recently have teamed up with Gamerized. Gamerized is a social platform that was made for gamers by gamers. And we're going to take over Gamerized. So go ahead and check us out. I just threw that link into the chat. And let's get started. So how's everybody doing today, first and foremost?
Doing well.
Okay.
I didn't cut myself at work.
That's always a plus.
I will consider that a win.
Right?
I haven't really done much today. It's been rainy. I've been happy, and I scheduled my COVID shot for tomorrow. So
Yes.
that's good.
Yes. I was just saying
By the way,
how I
the
love
stabbing.
to be part of a group that believes in science. So anyway, that's another topic for another stream.
My first stabbing is tomorrow also.
Excellent.
Hey.
A week from today. I could have gotten it today, but that was way too soon for me
Oh,
because
yeah.
I passed out with shots. So,
Ooh. Right.
See, we should believe in science if for no other reason than Bill Nye and Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I do love Bill
Look at
Nye.
that bear.
Yo, my mom didn't
What
my
up,
mom didn't know
Smoke?
who Neil deGrasse Tyson was, and that made me really sad.
That
Neil
makes
deGrasse-
me sad
I
too.
I like Bill Nye more, but Neil deGrasse Tyson, he seems a bit of arrogance. Like, he has just that arrogant air about him.
I think it's just because he's super smart, I think a lot of people seem to think super smart people come off as that way because they're like way on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
Stretch! We must stretch.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Everyone,
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
This is
All right, so Elf, let's go ahead and talk about Moonchild. Why did you go ahead and pick that, and give us a little history about it?
I picked it because from the moment I first saw it, it's been one of my favorites. Like, I saw it not too long after 2003 when it came out. So, I'm a big fan of Larkin Seal and Malice Miser, so...
Okay. Oh, wait. Pause. Pause for discussion.
Pause for parental.
Right.
That's funny. Yeah, it was an interesting film, that's for sure.
Right.
Anywho,
Okay.
where
Please
did I
continue.
leave off? Okay, yeah.
House miser.
Yeah. I am always talking about how Gackt is personally about to turn 40 and he looks exactly the same as he did in the movie. It's amazing. It's fantastic.
Oh, he's 47 now.
Oh my god, he's almost 50. My goodness.
Yeah. And he still kind of looks the same.
And I know I shared it in the Discord yesterday, but Hyde, who plays Kay the vampire, is also did one of the intros for Full Metal Alchemist, which by like was one of my favorites too because it was so catchy.
Okay. So let's talk about first impressions, guys. So we
Well, I have a
actually
question.
go ahead.
Sorry. How did you come across it, Elf?
Because I'm a huge nerd for foreign movies, so it came up on my radar through Amazon suggestions, and I was like, hell yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Fair enough.
Awesome.
Okay, so we watched it as a group last night, and this is the first time I'd ever seen it. And just overall, I mean, Elf had gave us an expectation about the pacing of it, but I enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoyed it. Like, that'd be my first, and it was my first impression. I would definitely watch it again, especially watching it with you guys. It was definitely, it wasn't a slog or anything like that. It was really, really fun to do. So.
Oh yeah, I'd watch anything with this group. This group is great. I love watching movies with you guys.
MSTK3000 got nothing on us.
Yeah. I'm so disappointed. I think they took that off Netflix.
They did. Oh well,
But there's
that can be a different stream.
There's a Kickstarter to bring it back.
I did see that though. Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully it'll come back.
Okay. All right, Potions. What'd you think? First impressions.
First impressions was it was incredibly interesting, and I liked trying to guess what was going to happen next, and what Daddy had said about the pacing. Yep, it definitely jumped around, but it was okay. At least it was linear.
Right. Stealth.
It was a good movie. I'm not a huge fan of foreign films. I will say that right off the bat.
You will be.
Hang out with this group, yes, we will.
Right.
But
One of us.
So, I will say this: the last Cantonese, Japanese, Chinese, or just in that area film that I've actually watched and liked, Ip Man was the last one, like the last series I've actually watched and liked in that series, like in that, But yeah, pacing, you cannot keep a cadence with that.
No.
But the way it is, it kept you to like. I kind of want to stop, but what's gonna happen?
It's like a car wreck, right?
You couldn't predict what was gonna happen, to be honest, until like the very like 2 seconds before it happened. Oh, so that's what's gonna happen, and I can see that. Other than that, you had to watch it.
Right. All right. Crimson, she was absent, but you can't be absent next time we do this. It was so much fun. But please.
I say I did watch it on my own because I was traveling yesterday. But so I did not have Elf Daddy's warning of what this film was. So first impressions of it, well, I wrote to them when I watched it, because I watched it earlier this afternoon, that like it hooked me within the first 5 minutes, because I needed to know what was going on. I was like, what is happening? What is going on? Tell me what this film is about. And that's kind of how the film went the entire 2 hours. And 2 hours I was watching it. And the other thing that was still in my head was, how is this film 2 hours long? Like, what are they going to do to fill it in? And obviously it answered that question. But like, from the moment it opened with its found footage type of deal, I loved the change in cinematography. I mean, we'll talk about that later, but like the cinematography was fascinating.
Yeah.
But like the early, well, not early, I guess I should say the late 90s, mid 90s to late 90s, like found footage, shaky cam, regular, old school 4:3 like definition. And then that opening up into the widescreen and like not and vistas and all of that stuff. I was like, this is going to be a ride.
Right.
And it was.
to say the least.
That's putting it lightly. Oh
Okay,
my.
so let's get a little bit into the plot, then we'll kind of go over some trivia. So, Elf, you want to go ahead and take it away? Explain what we were watching.
Okay, so it takes place in what I believe, if I remember correctly, was the fictional city of Maleta.
Elf, you're kind of low.
Ah, dang it.
Oh, there we
There
go.
you go.
There we go.
Yeah, my finger was like all over the mic. Anyway, it takes place in the like I'm still not entirely sure if it's like supposed to be a country or just a city.
No, it's a section of mainland China.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
Malpella, right?
It's called Malepa.
Malepa,
And it
oh,
starts
sorry.
in 2014 with a bunch of kids who are Japanese immigrants to this country. It's supposed to be like equal opportunities for everybody, regardless of where you're from, but it heavily favors non-Japanese, like Chinese citizens, Cantonese, Taiwanese, in general. So these kids are, kind of resorting to stealing to try and get by. They're all orphans. There's Sho, his brother Toshi, or his brother Shinji, his friend Toshi, and then they meet Kei, who is a vampire. And then it skips to when they're older. They're still doing crime and stuff. So, and then it gets complicated because they add in a fourth guy, Chen Sun, who is
Son, yeah, right.
yeah. He's cool at first, but he's a turd later, and I don't like him. But whatever.
I could agree with
I
that
love
assessment. I could agree with that assessment.
Yeah.
I love
Like-
Sun.
I love him too, but then like afterwards when he's like, "No, I gotta help my own people over here." I'm sorry what happened, but this is where I'm going. And it's like, hey, you guys were friends. Stop it.
Right. Okay, so let's see. So we're now in. So this is where the pacing stuff came in. So you kind of definitely. So the first part in the opening scene is when you see they find the kids. They find this case of money, and
Steal the case of
they steal the case of money, and they go to the little hideout. But the guy finds them. And,
Finders keepers.
right. So then they're all like, "Yeah, let's keep it. The guy finds them, and shoots Tenshin, right, or in the leg. Tenshi in the leg. So throughout the rest of the movie, you know who he is because he's the one that's limping around. And it was and just
the drug problem.
Right, and the preface it's subtitled, so obviously everything is in Cantonese, or everything
Japanese.
is in a foreign language, and you don't as you're actually reading the captions or the subtitles, you kind of figure out like, oh wait a minute, he must be speaking Japanese because they're referencing to speak a different language in the actual subtitles. So this guy comes in and he's gonna like kill all these kids, and that's when they run into Kei. And what you don't realize about Kei, oh wait a minute, he meets Kei, and finding out that Kei was sitting in the sun, or his hand was sitting in the sun, and his hand's burning. And so it's not, for me in that scene, it wasn't really apparent. Like if I didn't know that Kei was obviously, spoiler alert, Kei's a vampire, which I always thought that this was a second. It was like a second piece.
I would have never guessed. Oh my god, that's shocking.
So Kei's hand is burning and you don't realize what's going on with him. And this is what, like I said, you kind of have to start piecing stuff together. But his hand is burning and he can't move. And so, Cho? Wait, is it Cho? Sho, sorry. So Sho drags him to their hideout. And this is, when they're back at the hideout, that's when they got the case of money. And the guy finds them and he shoots the brother. And they all run. And when they come back, they kind of find, like, what the hell's going on with this guy? What happened? And they come and they find Kei, which is the vampire, eating the guy. So Sho is like, oh, that's cool. Like, his expression on his face was like, all right, cool.
A little creepy. A little creepy.
The smile, that little kid, oh my god, his smile was really interesting.
Little sociopathic.
Oh,
Not gonna lie, I was sitting there going, that kid's going places. I don't know where he's going, but he's going somewhere.
Oh, and the way they did the camera, right? They like zoomed and then zoomed again and then zoomed again. I was like, yeah, right, just like that. I was like, yeah.
I literally have so many thoughts on the cinematography of this that we can get into later. as after we go through the plot, but so many thoughts. But y'all also forgot the prologue, which is my favorite, which is where we meet Kay and Luca, which is important.
Oh, right. Oh, you're right.
The
Right.
theme of the
The
entire
prologue,
movie.
please.
So Kay and Luca, Luca is another vampire, and Luca's a vampire because he's like dripping blood off of his fangs, like when you first meet him. And they're running from somebody. You have no idea who they're running from. You assume it's people have realized what they are and are trying to kill them. And so Kay's like, don't leave me. And Luca's like, yo, I'm done living. And so they drive to the beach together. And then Luca quotes the theme song to Kay, which is kind of nice. And it's about the sun rising and saying a final farewell. So they're both on the beach, and like that's it in the beginning. And then like later, when in the flash forward, there's a flashback because that's how this movie works.
Right. The pacing.
Forward, back.
Right.
To
Also
Luca's
monologuing.
so much monologuing. To Luca's death, because Luca is on the beach and Kay's like, let's go, the sun's coming up, and he's like, no man, I'm sick of living. So because that's how the sun works, Kay's still able to stand on the sand and watch Luca burn, because I guess that's how the sun comes
Plot
up.
armor, Crimson. Plot armor.
Well, and you know what? I figured
The
like maybe
buffer.
he's standing
He's
in
got
the
the
sand,
buffer.
right? You know, like there was a shade going on or something like that. Who knows?
I was just like, he's
And
standing
kids-
there on the sand watching his friend burn in
But-
the sun.
But he
He's
started
fine.
smoking.
Wait.
He started smoking, remember?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he
Right.
was smoking a little bit. That's why I said he had the buffer still. He still had the buffer, and then he ran away. So it's
Right.
like,
Remember,
okay.
smoking's bad for you kids. Smoking's bad for you.
And you don't want to stand too close because secondhand smoke is just as bad.
Right. That's what we kept saying too.
To be fair,
So
if you teach a man how to build a fire, he's going to be able to like live the rest of his life. But if you set a man on fire, he's going to be warm the rest of his life. So there.
That is
Wow.
fair.
But
facts.
we never got to the best part of the movie, though.
Well, hold on.
Well, I
hold-
don't
hold-
think
and
we're
sh-
out of
We haven't
prologue
gone
yet.
anywhere yet.
Right. We're definitely trying to. So I guess the
We
significance
are
of that.
doing as well a timeline as the movie does, with going back and forth and back and
Right.
forth.
Right.
But
Right.
also,
We have
may I
just done the
say-
first 30 minutes.
Right.
May I say your mentor being a bonfire is a good opportunity to roast marshmallows.
But he didn't have marshmallows. I think
Right.
in that
Should
leather
have had
jacket, he
marshmallows.
could not.
Should have had the marshmallows.
He couldn't hold marshmallows down in that jacket he was wearing.
He
Right.
could have, like so many marshmallows.
Let's get back on track here, guys. We're about to derail, and it's a beautiful thing. People will still watch it.
So in
Like,
2024,
well, I want to talk about the significance of that, right? Because the significance of that is he basically was done living the life of being a monster. And so that's why he was like, I'm kind of done. And that kind of sets the tone for a lot of the different plot points that sit for the rest of the... He's a vampire, and he's done living that type of life. And the reason why we find out that when they first meet Kay is because he doesn't want to drink blood. So that's why he's like... can't move, his hands burning because he's refusing to just go out and just kill people. He's done, living that life of, and then because, well, as we get further into the plot, we'll talk about like how he actually feeds and stuff like that. But, so I think that set a lot of the tone, and I'm glad you brought that back up, was, they're considered monsters, and they really didn't, and being a vampire, like first and foremost, let's talk about the budget, right? Elf said that there was a $3 million budget.
$3 million.
Right? And they didn't have fangs. Like, did you guys...
Really well.
Crimson, did you notice? Like, they didn't have fangs?
they didn't have fangs. And I thought it was really funny that every time someone died, they cut away because they didn't have the blood budget.
Right. so like I said,
Budget
I
for,
just
like,
wanted to kind of
3
talk...
scenes.
Like grease over that, like that was a very strong plot point throughout the movie, was the fact that like he saw himself as a monster. Luca saw himself as a monster and was like, I'm done with this. And then Kay kind of lived on. And then when they finally meet, when Show meets Kay, he's a kid, but he's kind of feeling the same way, like he doesn't want to eat. So that's why. And as he's eating this bad guy, because eating bad guys is okay, it's very socially acceptable, but you can't just eat anybody. So when they came back and Show saw Kay eating this guy, it was like, oh, all right, cool. That's cool. You ate the guy that basically shot my brother and was gonna kill us, and he was a drug dealer or whatever he was, and that was acceptable to him, and that's why probably he was smiling, right?
Yeah, he's like, I got the money. I'm not dead.
And
Yeah.
you saved my life.
Right.
Yeah, I basically have a live-in bodyguard. Like, I'm cool with that.
Right.
I made a new friend, and he's really cool.
I'd be cool with that.
Hey, I mean, you just shot my brother. I mean, so yeah. And,
Yes. Yes, you shot my
Japanese
brother.
interview with a vampire light.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Elf. Please continue with the rest. Continuing with the story.
Okay, so after that, their older Toshi, their friend, is now working at a pizza place in which he drugs the pizza so they can take it to these places. They pass out, and then they're supposed to be able to go in and just like clean sweep, but it usually goes wrong, so they actually have to go in and start shooting. And you know, like they show you with like the first one to kind of get you familiar with it, and then the second one is the shootout where you end up meeting Chen.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Who has thoughts on this part of the movie?
Oh my god.
Okay.
So many thoughts.
Stealth, let's go with you first. What do you got on this part of the movie? This whole piece.
It was interesting. Like, on paper, that's a good idea. Let's be at a pizza delivery place. Let's get the pizza order. Like, whoever orders pizza, we'll drug the pizza, and then we'll wait for a little bit and see what happens. Oh, you see the first two guys pass out, and then you see them in the main room with the other guys, and next thing you hear is gunshots. Shit, they're early. Oh man.
So I guess my thought I'm going to add in this, just I don't want to take all of the stuff, but I loved how accuracy jumped up 100%.
Oh.
Like when you point the gun sideways. I mean, he wasn't missing. He was just like cat, 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 cat. Yeah, I mean, man, that was you know, if I wanted to learn how to shoot a gun, this movie was going to teach me how to get everybody. And of course, you know, he had to have like a 50-round clip because he just kept shooting.
Thank you.
He just
No,
kept
no.
shooting.
No, the entire movie they reloaded like
so
5 times.
hard while we were watching it. Every time a gun came up, oh, he's serious. It's sideways now. Oh, and now he's double serious because it's crossed.
Right.
So when I first saw this and I first walked and saw him walking in with it gangsta style, I was like, are you fucking kidding me, first of all? And then second of all, he like shot completely accurately, which like if you know anything about shooting guns, that's the most inaccurate way you can shoot possible, and the gun will just fucking go anywhere. The bullet will go anywhere. So I'm just like, okay, you're hitting all of your shots. And then I was counting bullets. I was like, how many bullets are they putting in these chambers? But then I was like, okay, fine, whatever. He's going to have infinite ammo. But then they made it a plot point that they ran out of bullets.
Right.
So I was like, you gotta choose, right? You can't just say that we're going to have 50 bullets in this chamber or in this magazine and then say, oh, look, I mean, that's later. I'm not even going to talk about that. But in one of the second encounter, they do like the stupid thing where Kai flicks the reload into his gun and it just like zooms right in. I was like, what are you doing and why are you spending CGI budget on this?
Right, I was gonna say, I think that's where they spent a lot of their money. Because you didn't see that happen again in the movie.
The aptitude points. If this was a tabletop game, they spent all the aptitude points on that one shot.
Right.
Also, insert both. Both is good. GIF.
Yes, both magazines went in.
Both?
They reloaded like 5 times throughout the entire movie.
Right.
And changed guns. That's it.
Right.
Mushroom clips.
It's crazy.
This is the best thing, though.
But then also, like, can we talk about how they keep shooting people and the people don't die? So they have to shoot them like 5 times sometimes. Or sometimes they shoot them once and they're dead. Or they'll like sit and they'll point the gun like right in the, and I'm like, just freaking shoot the gun. Why are you hesitating? Why are you waiting? Why are you
Right.
saying, oh, I'm gonna wait to see if like what's gonna happen? You
Right.
have the evil guy up against your chest. You're gonna freaking shoot him. No?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Whatever.
He was waiting. He's waiting. He's waiting for that ass whooping. Is what he was waiting for.
Poignancy.
Right.
Poignancy. It's the art of storytelling here.
Okay. It was. You know what? I will say it was entertaining. Number one, it was funny. It was entertaining. I mean, as much shit we're talking about it, I mean, I think all of us like we're like, yeah, that's okay. It's the '90s, right? It's a foreign film, you know. But you know, there's certain aspects they kind of wanted to add in and stuff like that. Again, the cinematography, if anything else, if you're, you know, somebody that's into movies, you have so much to pick apart that it's actually entertaining, though.
Yeah, that's
They're
what I was
already
saying.
asking you to,
It's a story.
to suspend your disbelief, though. Like they're like saying, "Hey, you know, we're in this. Well, at the time it was like, hey, we're in the future.
Right.
The economy is taking a shit. It's like that's believable. Hey, there's a vampire. It's like, okay, yeah, I guess I can buy that too. Hey, they shoot weird. Okay, yeah, fine. Also, the fashion is killer.
Oh,
They're doing this
Yeah,
all in
okay.
tight.
I am not
leather.
worthy. I need leather pants.
That
And
movie
the
makes me
shots.
want to get a trench coat every time.
Right.
We're raving. They just need to go to a rave, man.
Oh man.
Exactly.
Oh.
I wasn't sure at that point. So at this point when I was watching it, I wasn't sure if this was turning into a comedy. Like I'm 100% serious. I was like, I'm fairly certain this is a satire of some sort.
Right.
Which like at the end it's not, but
No.
in this part it definitely was
Oh, yeah.
because like the whole Mexican standoff thing with Chen, I was like, what's happening? What are we doing?
Right. Well,
What's going on?
let's-
And then don't forget the wire CGI budget with K
oh yeah.
going from, and like jumping off the van
Right.
and like flying through the air.
Right.
So they had to delete those wires somehow.
Right.
But I can see where you're going with the comedy because, like, they do the thing where he flips and tries to do this cool move and then lands right on his leg, and he's like, ah! And then he stands up, it's like ready to shoot, and there's nobody there, and he's like, what the fuck?
Right. There, I
And
mean, there's
soccer.
that.
That's what it was. Soccer.
Oh, and then can we also talk about his hairdo? Talk about business in the front, party in the back.
It's like the most greatest mullet in the world.
Oh yeah. I liked
Mullets
it.
Mullets with rat tails.
Yeah, you know what though? If I could grow something like that and the wife would allow me to do it, I would probably rock that. I'd rock that style.
Wait, ask her to watch this movie, and I bet you she'll agree.
She'll probably shoot me, but okay. All right, so let's get. So now you know they're kind of like in their career. They're basically still ruffians.
Small time bugs.
Right. So they run into Kay, or they run into
Chen?
Chen. That's I
Yeah.
gotta like kind of keep. I had a hard time following who was who until at least the second hour. I was like, who's this? Who's this again? Who's this? So then you come to find out that the group that they're stealing from this time, one of the leaders of the group raped Chen's sister, and that's when we introduce Chen's sister. So they go in, they try to rob the place. He wants to, Chen comes in and wants to take revenge against the leader of this group. And of course, what happens? The classic team up, right? They do this Mexican standoff thing and they're like, oh, we're going to shoot each other. But wait a minute, there's more of them. So my enemy is my friend. So let's just go back to back like Charlie's Angels and just kill everybody.
They did it twice.
Right. Right.
They had the Mexican standoff. The bad guys came. They shot all the bad guys. They went back to the Mexican standoff.
Right.
And you're like, oh, there's more guys than we thought. And I was this again comedy aspect.
Right.
I was like, what are you doing?
Right.
I'll just say, I don't think there was enough pizza to cover how many dudes there were in that fight.
Right. That and bullets.
Not enough bullets by far.
No.
They never reloaded that entire scene. It was hilarious.
Right. So you come to find out that they're gonna finish their little job and they're gonna steal from the guy, and the ringleader goes running out. Chen runs after him and doesn't want to shoot him. Right, he does not want to shoot the guy.
He hesitates.
Right, and he's going to, and then who comes and shoots? Show. Is it Show?
Yeah.
Okay. So then Show says, you know what? I'm a gangster anyway. Bop bop. Double taps him. And that is the beginning of the montage. That is the beginning, and
I
you
love
got
the montage.
the I don't know what you want to call it. It's the friendship
The 90s
building.
montage.
Yeah, oh,
the
there
90s
we go.
friendship montage.
Right, the '90s friendship montage.
The
Because it's like, you
Friends
know what?
episode.
We done killed the
Really?
guy.
Okay. So to be honest, they should not have just been just friends. They should have been more.
Oh, come on. You know
think
there's
they
some
weren't.
chemistry. There's serious chemistry between Show and Kay, and I will not
Oh
hear
my
otherwise.
god,
Right.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna talk about that later as we get to the end. But I also think the
I ship
introduction,
'em.
of Yi Chen, that's her name, right? Yi Chen.
Yes, Yi Chen.
Yeah.
Yes. The introduction of her, it was fascinating because, like, I know the character doesn't speak, but like, it's just a weird early 2000s, late 90s. Let's stare at each other across the room, and let me just stare at you awkwardly. And she's like, and here I am, fake painting this painting, and you're just like, what? There's so many scenes. Like, also the scene where the Yoshi, not Yoshi, shoot, what's her-
Toshi?
Toshi.
Toshi is trying to convince the people to take the pizza. I was like, why is that a scene? Also, why did Chen not shoot Toshi when they're both back to back on the desk? Because like Toshi's
They
out
ran
of
out of
bullets.
bullets.
Toshi's out of bullets, but Chen wasn't. And
I think his gun jammed because it was clicking too, and then he's like, oh, what the fuck? And then he left.
again,
Freaking whap the guy, pistol whip.
Exactly.
comedy. And then he answers the phone.
Or takes an
The
order.
order.
Right. Oh, jeez. And that's where, like I said, some of the stuff. Oh, and then the bad guys. We'll talk about that in a second.
Oh, those
The,
oh
the
my god.
other bad guys, right?
Oh my God.
You knew that they were bad guys because of the way they
Oh my
dressed.
Totally.
Right.
Can
So
we just talk
Absolutely.
about
well,
how-
let's go to the montage thing, right? So
right.
so after the guy gets killed, he's like, you know what, hey, bro, you know, killed my sister's rapist. We're gonna take you back to the house, get you. He had a flesh wound.
Seems too
Show.
slow.
Show had a flesh wound, so had to go get him all taped up, and then that's when he met the sister, and then he had warned, like, Show not to fall in love with her, right? So they were
So
like,
of course he does.
yeah, so yeah, of course,
Exactly.
right.
Like,
Through-
hey, I'm not gonna do that. Oh,
Stare
no.
into my eyes.
right.
I'm
So
going to kill you.
So they do the friendship
Or
montage, and they,
something else.
they're out there drinking, smoking, doing whatever, all these different flashes. But one of the most important things that they did was they took a group picture at a beach at night. So that was, something that was like, oh, okay. So they all, and then mind you, Yi Chen, she was mute ever since she had got raped. So she did not
Well,
speak.
Ken
And
said since she was a kid, though, so I don't really
Before
know.
then.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
Before then.
I don't
she
know.
didn't smile. And then during this
That
picture,
She hasn't got raped. Yeah.
yeah. So during this picture, Kay is talking. Like they're also it goes Yi Chen, Kay, Sho, Sun, and then Toshi at the end because
Can we
Toshi
just
runs.
talk about how Kay and Sho were like all up in each other's business in
Oh,
that
yeah.
photo?
I mean,
too?
that
It's just
was the
like, come
precursor
on
to-
now.
Cute. It's so
That's
cute.
something there.
Right. That's the precursor of what's to come. Right. So
Right.
so Kay tells her, hey, you know what? It's okay to smile. It's okay to smile once in a while. And I guess through this camaraderie that they built, she brought herself to smile, and then they took a couple pictures through this whole montage thing.
And then we have the picture montage of their beach night where it's just snaps of
classic.
Snaps of them goofing off.
Right. Classic. It was classic. It filled the 2 hours, right? It filled the 2 hours, right?
2 hours. It felt like forever.
Right.
But
Yeah,
it
especially
was a
that
good
montage.
forever because it's just like, what could they possibly do next?
Right.
So can we
Right.
also talk about the
It's hard to do.
camera that Toshi had is hilarious because the camera was like from the 80s. It's gotta be.
Right.
Maybe even the 70s. It's like super old. And I guess that's all that they could afford.
Right.
And so then they wrote that into the script because they're like, oh, Toshi, your camera's so old. And he's like, yeah, it's turn of the 20th century. Ha ha. Which is like, what, 25 years ago?
Right.
But I was just like,
Right.
25 is the cutoff for being an antique to sell in an antique store.
Calm down, guys.
Right.
Calm
We're all
down.
vintage.
Right. I was gonna say, calm down. Well, Potion, you could talk, but stealth, right?
But-
Stealth, no talking, No talking.
Your
But then
baby,
they also
no.
have like so I guess Toshi has a cell phone to take the pizza orders, but then like they also have everybody else has landlines, which I think is also really funny.
Right, but you see how big his phone was though? His phone was like the size of my microphone. Right? It was like brick size. It was like a cordless phone you'd have at home. That's how big
Yeah.
that thing was.
For a pizza.
Right. Okay, so we get through the montage, right? We get through this whole friendship montage thing, right? Okay, Elf, what happens next?
Okay, so after the montage, let's see. Trying to think of the order of events. Then after that, okay, they skip again. And they're all kind of hanging out. Toshi and Sho are having dinner with Chen and Nichi, and he brought flowers, and like he's like, oh shit, there's other people here, so he dumped him off to the side and like was like hanging out, like, okay, I totally didn't bring those, and then she brought him in, and he's like, oh shit.
You have a fucking spit take on camera. I was like, what are you doing?
Right.
Toshi's like, dude, that's gross. You need to wipe your face, because he's just sitting there with his mouth open and food all over his face, just staring at her like, oh, she's pretty.
Right. So we already knew that was going to happen. We knew something was going to happen from that. Well, I mean, from the whole fact that they were like, don't fall in love with her. So, okay.
Oh yeah, and then there's the painting where she finishes her painting, and then they're supposed to have a celebration. Toshi's gonna bring pizza. Kei's gonna try to make it, weather pending. But, the only one that really knows, I think, at that point is still Shinji and Sho.
You don't need a hat.
Mm-hmm. That knows that he's a vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it turns out to be an absolutely beautiful day, so he can't go. And then Toshi gets an important phone call, and these guys come up. This dude licks his ear and shanks him. And then
It's not
they
confirmed if he
go.
was shanked. It was
Talk
not
about the
confirmed if he was
importance of the
shanked.
phone call, like what it was.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mentioned before that they're all orphans. It was the orphanage calling to say that his mom was coming back to get him. And that's what really makes it heartbreaking, because when they get to the festivities, the guys that took his invitation and came there, and he's all like, his hands are all bound and everything, and like by this time it starts raining, so they're trying to like duck and weave and like try to keep Toshi going, and then Kei shows up because it's raining, and
Don't worry,
then he gets in the way.
The rain
And
blocks UV lights.
yeah,
It does. Yeah, clouds totally block UV lights.
So one thing we forgot to mention is Kei, again, not wanting to be a monster, right? He's not eating.
so he's weak as
So
hell.
yeah, so they notice that he's tired or whatever, and they keep asking Kei through some of these scenes, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And of course, the only one that knows what's really going on is Sho, because he knows that he's a vampire. Kei had not eaten, I want to say, for months, I believe is what the caption was, and so he was already weakened, number one, and then of course we run into this scene. So take it away.
So when he gets there, he's trying to step into, and Toshi is concerned about him, so he steps in the way and pretends to shoot him with. He's only got his hands, and so they kill him. And I was like, no, he wouldn't have lived. Kei would have lived if they would have shot him. Come on, man.
Right.
Why do you have to be so damn nice? And then the whole festivity kind of turns sour because he's gone, and they find out
Death
Kei
kinda
is a
does
vampire, and it kind of breaks up the whole group dynamic. And I believe they said he disappears for like 9 years.
So yeah, so
So there's another time skip.
So to kind of backtrack with like this whole significance of that particular scene. They have these festivities. They have these, right? Toshi or Kei can't come because of the sun, but of course he's weakened. And Toshi is the happy-go-lucky guy. Like, you love him in the whole movie. Like, he's like the silly little brother that you're like, okay, cool. And you really, and then you hear that phone call. You're like, oh, cool. He's finally gonna get to see his mom. But the bad guys. So remember, we're in a district where they have competing gangs, and the bad guys. You know who the bad guys are, but they represent another faction, another gang in this faction, or another faction in this little district, and they all have truces. But Show and their group stole from this other group, so now they're retaliating. So you see that dynamic because it becomes important later on with Sun when he leaves the group. Part of the reasoning why he leaves the group. So you're right, so that faction comes in to take revenge. They kill Toshi, and Toshi wanted to be that person to protect Kei, not knowing what Kei was, that he would have survived. And all this is unfolding. It's supposed to be a day of celebration, and Kei, he's just jumping around, to kind of like distract the guy from that was shooting. So he was able to distract the guy enough to where one of the bad guys shoot the other bad guy, so he dies, and then Kei goes running off, and then the bad guy goes running off after him. So this is where you get to that scene where Sho runs up to Toshi, and it's so set, right? It's raining, everybody's
very streetcar.
right. He blood's everywhere. Yi Chen is like sad. Her ceremony turned bad. That's like his little brother's like dying in his arms. Sun is there, and he's just like, what the hell's going on? And then so they see Toshi's dead, and they go to try to find Kei. And then this is where the big reveal for the group happens, where they see Kei eating the guy, right? Eating, if that's what you want to call it. You don't really see. You see like the back of his hood, right? But he's eating him. And so Sun is the first one. Yeah, so Sun runs over there, and he's like stuck, and you don't know what he's looking at. And then Sho and Yi Chen come over. So Yi Chen is disgusted, right? She's like, "Oh my God, he's eating the guy. He's a fucking cannibal, right? He's supposed to be my protector, and he's my big brother, and now he's a monster, right? The monster has shown," and she is disgusted. And then Sun is like, what? He doesn't know what the fuck's going on. Like, oh, what the hell? So that's how. And of course, Sho is like, dude, can you stop? So that's when you get this dramatic stop. And he's like, stop. And he's pleading with him to stop. And of course, the bloodlust has took over. And he's just mowing down. He hadn't had.
One's hungry.
Right. He hadn't had the food in 4 months, 5 months. So he's mowing down. He can't stop. And, obviously Sun is like, oh my God. Yi Chen is disgusted. And, Sho, even though he knew what was going on, he knew what was going to happen, he really wanted him to stop. Like, but, what can you do?
So, and another thing that was really important about that whole character development arc is before Kei? Yes?
The vampire?
Yeah. Yeah, I always want to say Kai, but no, it's Kei. Before he stopped eating, he and Sho have a conversation, and basically Kai is telling Sho to not make your life like mine. He's like, don't adapt your life to my lifestyle, because obviously I can only live at night. And he's like, and you should go out during the day. And because he said, eventually you're going to get old and you're going to die. I won't get old. I won't age. So there's a lot of self-hatred there about what the monster was. And then you kind of see the switch happen when Sho is shot, because they show a close-up of the blood of his flesh wound, and you can kind of be like, Kai realizes that he it's disgusting that he drinks blood too, that he's like, I don't like the fact that I exist on blood, and blood is what I need to exist. So that's when he started his starvation diet. And then when he gets confronted, he even says that he's like, sometimes I realize what kind of monster I am, and I decide to not do it anymore until eventually something happens, and then he has to, because he has to save them.
We lost Sho. No,
it's okay. I'm just making sure we're still running. Yeah, we're still running. Okay. And so yeah, I mean, it that was a little crazy, and then I think it was a really weird cinematic with Sho standing there with the blood of Toshi on his hand, and he pulls his hand out to Kai, and he's like, yeah, he's dead. Toshi's dead. What are you doing? Just stop. And then,
come on, man, it's sad enough. Don't do this.
Right.
Don't do the bad thing. Just do the bad thing.
Yeah.
Hey, if you guys want to be famous, we got a bot in the chat.
But oh hey, I want to be famous. I want to be famous.
I can't block them because I'm not a mod, which is
I'm
sad.
here. Smokey.
Okay, the bear should be in here modding for us.
Yeah, if he's
Smoking
still in.
hands.
If he's still in, I don't know.
No, he's not.
He
No.
left.
He
Yes.
was in earlier.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
Rebel's in. Hey, Rebel, can you take care of the bot, please?
Pinky.
Smokey, I suppose it's Smokey still there.
I mean, as
I
soon
don't know.
as Sean comes back, he can do it too.
Yeah,
So.
but still, it's just.
But then they have the hard cut, which I think is also really interesting.
It's
I'm
such a
like-
dynamic change in him because originally he was celibate, or he was not. He was starving himself to be with Show, and then Show died, and now he's just everything in him. He just went back to his primal instincts, essentially.
Yeah.
But also,
But-
I don't know why it never occurred to me, but Toshi is the only one who never finds out Kay is a vampire.
That's true. That's why he's so happy-go-lucky, because he has.
It's just because of the drugs he was using in the pizza, he was also using himself.
Probably.
No, because he has his innocence. His innocence hasn't been lost. He doesn't
Yeah.
realize that there are monsters in the world. That's
Oh, but also Show can't drive.
that was funny.
No license, has never driven before. Everybody's terrified. They're like, wait, I can't.
She's just
I
like,
don't
la-di-da.
I don't speak Japanese. What's going on? And
I was saying, and
they're
as
like,
somebody that doesn't speak those languages, unfortunately, like I knew they were different languages, sort of, but like not until that moment where it was like, oh, what are they saying? What are they saying? And it's like, oh, you realize that Chen and Yi-Chen are Cantonese or Taiwanese, so they speak Cantonese, and then Kai speaks both, and Sho speaks both too, but he mainly speaks Japanese. So they were just saying in Japanese with Toshi, because I think Toshi only speaks Japanese, and it's like, I want to get out now, and then Kai translates, and I think that was just really funny, his translation, where it's like, well,
Show
Sho
doesn't know how to drive.
doesn't have a license, and Toshi wants to get out of the car.
He's like,
Right.
oh no, our lives are in the hands of an idiot, but we're idiots for trusting him. It tries to strangle him while he's driving. Like, how much sense does that make? You're just gonna make him crash.
I
A
know.
lot of sense. If we're gonna die anyways, might as well make it with a bang.
And then one of the saddest parts of the movie that I wish, what I thought was going to happen, and it didn't, and I feel like that was a failure on the writer's part a little bit, was like, Sho should have shown up to meet Toshi's mom and like tell her what happened, because the cut happens right after. It cuts to the next day. It's sunny, and a woman who you assume is Toshi's mom comes to the park and is just waiting for her son, who will never show up because he's dead. So it's like, why?
Oh, yeah. And you see the guys pressure washing the blood off the ground in the background.
Like that's a good detail right there. I appreciated that one for sure.
That is a good detail, actually.
Oh,
But I just wish that they had had Sho at least. Like, they didn't have to record lines, right? They could have had him like walk up to her, and then we could have interpreted what would have happened. But instead, they just left her
and jumped again.
And jumped a really hard cut again. Exactly.
And then, like, in that part, like, the next thing you see is just this little girl, and then it pans down, and then you see tight leather pants and a lot of guns. Like, just tight leather ass, and it's like, okay, thanks, I guess.
What was that transition? I know. So what happens in 32, I guess, at this point?
that was 2045.
That's at the
That's
end.
the ending.
Oh, okay. I don't know. There's too many jumps, and I can't keep track of them all.
It's supposed to be like a 9-year gap between like the painting and
it's
and the present, because
2014 when it starts, and then it says, which doesn't make any sense, because I guess it could, that it's 2024 when all of that just happened. So if Sho was 8, then I guess that would have made him 18 when that was going on. And then it jumped. If you say 9 years, that sort of makes sense, but then not really, because of what happens with Hannah. That should be a 12 now. I guess a 10-year jump as well, which is 2014 well, yeah, 2045 would be 2035. So then that would be 9 years, 2024 to 2035. Look, we figured it out.
Yay, math.
But we're still
Dog wants to say
not certain, to be honest. We're still not certain, to be honest. Because even if you look in the Wikipedia, it goes, in the year 2014, blah, 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 several years later, blah, 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 9 years later, blah, 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 and 2045.
It
Yeah.
says 2024 in the movie. Like, I literally just watched it, and it says 2024 for the first jump. So,
But
It is.
yeah, see, the confusing part about the timeline is when they show him in the house and they're watching the news, they mention it's been like a bunch of murders where they're drained of blood in a couple of months. But at this time, he's detained supposedly for 9 years. And it's like, okay.
And he's asked for the death penalty so many times. It's like, kill
You're
me.
right.
Just kill me already.
All you have to do is put me out in the sun. I'll die.
yeah. So, yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I think why that police report just happened then.
Right? It's like
He's been in
that's
prison for that
not
long.
good timing.
Because, like, clearly he's
Because
been in prison
plot,
for a long time.
Crimson. Because plot.
Right. But it is, I guess, 2035 at this point. Okay, so what happened at this point?
Because of money, they only had $3 million.
There he is.
Oh, SeanFlac, yay!
Hey, I had to go say
Okay,
what's
so
up
at
to the
this
kids
point,
before they went to
the
bed.
news mentions he's like in Interpol for some reason, which is
No,
bizarre.
it is. It's the Intercontinental Police Force, I believe is what they call
Yeah,
it.
and they're like, hey, we're gonna put you on death row, and it's like, what? Okay, but before that happens, Sho goes to visit him, and he won't look at him, he won't talk to him, and he's like trying to shove his kid's picture in his face, like, hey, look at my kid, hey, look at my kid, come on, man, look at it. And he won't look, and then finally he looks, and he's like, hey, how is everybody? And he's like, hey, everybody's like dead. You know,
He said everyone's okay.
yeah, it's okay. I mean, hey, we're men about town. We got my brother owns a bar. We're like big shots. We're doing great. And then he's like,
And
oh,
he
cool.
got married, right?
Yeah. And he mentioned Ichi had a thing for Kay, so it took a long time for him to convince her to marry him. And then they got married. She wasn't very happy, and then it kind of worked out anyway.
I mean,
And
it had a
then-
kid.
Did I have a brain tumor?
Yeah,
That's
and then that's like after the next cut because
Oh.
you know things are going well, and then he goes home. He's trying to tell his brother, "Hey man, get the best lawyer you can," and then he goes back and everybody's dead. And he's like, "Hey man, this wouldn't have happened if you just stay here."
Yeah, the
And
way
then they had a fight.
the way
and
they
he
set
told
that
him-
up though, like these guys, like his boys, were just walking down the street, like, oh yeah, I'm a gangster, blah blah blah, and these other dudes just came in and just lit up the whole crowd, which I thought it was messed up because they shot like the guy that was standing next to him that had nothing to do with it. But yeah,
They were sending a message with that one.
right.
No,
Don't fuck with us.
the only people they shot were the people that were employed by Sho.
I thought there
the
was
best
that
part, though,
bystander
the guy-
that was
the
like
Australian
behind
guy
him.
with the kitchen tattoo.
No, the bystander that behind him was the server at the bar.
Oh yeah, that's right. The guy that had when they robbed the jewelry store had the glasses and
Yes.
the weird fake mustache.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the ninja,
You
the white
am.
guy, Australian ninja guy died. The black American died. The guy with the dreads died, who never spoke, so I don't know who he was.
No, wait,
And-
he did speak because he was trying to tell him. He told him that that ninjas don't exist anymore.
Oh, right.
Mhm.
Right. That's right. And
Also,
then,
he's a ninja.
and then the little guy, the little waiter, he died.
Okay.
So it was
He
them.
was so cute too. I love little waiter guy.
Yeah.
I know.
So,
I don't know
yeah.
why he was rolling with them. I mean, he was basically a server, but
Right?
he's
Like he could have just stayed at the bar and stayed as a server and probably been just fine. But he's like, "Nah, I'm gonna go do crime with you guys."
Right.
And also, I'm gonna wear a mustache because this is cool. This is good disguise.
right.
Those masks were
I mean-
wonderful.
yeah, the masks were great.
Mm.
But before we get into the brother fight, we should set up the brother relationship.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So go ahead.
So Shinji, since he's been shot, you know, he's basically he started out running a pet store with like a lot of fish, and he mostly just spent his time up on the roof getting high. And his assistant Jesse would take care of the animals, and then you know that kind of sets up like how he's been living. He's not really doing too much of his life. Show's kind of taking care of him now. And then when you get the bar, you can see it's kind of the same dynamic. Jesse's running the bar basically, and he's just kind of sitting there. He supposedly got clean, and then when they have the fight, he kind of relapses like pretty hard. And the giant fish.
more of that budget gone.
Yeah, so like with the fish pet store or whatever, it's shown that like that he's regular mafia mentality, like they have to pay off the people for protection or whatever, and he didn't have the money, so Sho gives them the money. So he's always been kind of taking care of his older brother. And then the same thing with the bar, essentially. So Sho's running the block, the district, gave his brother the bar. He says he got his brother clean. But then Shinji says that like everyone died because of him, which we covered. And then they punch each other, which is also kind of rough looking. They were just like, I'm gonna punch you, and then they're like, wait 50,000 seconds before they punched him again.
Right.
Like, it was like,
Poignant look before the punching, so you know they mean it.
what is
Like,
this?
okay, cool. What am I gonna do about this? Let me think for like 10 years. Oh, hey, I'm gonna punch you back because this sucks.
Right. Because I'm mad at you. It's like, he just punched you in the face. Why are you waiting 30 seconds to punch him back and then kick him? I don't know.
Well,
So
there was, I don't know if you guys had covered it. I am coming in a little late here, but he basically blamed him. Like, all this would have not happened if you were here instead of going to go visit your monster friend, right? That's how he tried to like place it. Like, if you weren't trying to deal with him, all this would have never happened. And then that's when he's like, no, F you. I got you this bar. I got you clean. You should have been able to take care of this while I was gone. And all this BS happened. You know, you need to do something with your life. And that kind of goes into our next scene, right? But he's like, you need to take responsibility. And then, yeah, they have this whole punching thing. And then they go different ways, right?
Yeah, and his brother says, I'm gonna do something, I'll show you. And
Right.
then they cut to him getting high at the bar, like, okay, that's what you're doing? And then, you think that's it. And then he goes outside and he sees Chan.
Jesse
Chen,
leaves.
Chan. Well, actually, Chen and Chan are both there.
I say, well, Jesse leaves because
he takes his money and goes.
It's been it was sort of implied that it's been a couple months or at least weeks, because he had there's a tin of money that comes from when they were kids all the way through to the end of the film, and so that tin was full when everything was good, and then like Jesse's stealing money from it, and it's like barely anything. There's like 2 or 3 pounds of money.
Yeah,
so, like, obviously
the last of it, I want to say.
Right, but obviously Shinjin, I can't say that, has been killing all the money. I'm like, just buying drugs and not doing anything. But before the visit to Kai happened, they went and visited Sun, and we find out that Sun is has hooked up with the Taiwanese mafia, who runs the town essentially. So that's when we find out that that Sho and Sun have separated, that they are no longer friends, that they are now enemies. And Sho is there, and he was summoned, and he was summoned by Chen, who's right.
Chan is the mob boss. Which is weird because it's like Chan and Chen.
Is the mob boss.
That's confusing.
Right, Chan, who basically said, yeah, I'm letting you run your district, but don't ever forget that like you're here because of me. Like, you're successful because I'm letting you be successful. Right. And then like they kind of look at each other and they're just like, yeah, they hate each other. So now we know that Chen-san and Sho are on the opposite sides of the coin, and they don't like each other anymore. And it is assumed / kind of shown that the goons, the people, Sho's people, were killed by Chan's people.
Right.
But also the English music, that for some reason they're singing "My Body Lies Over the Ocean." It's like, okay, I guess.
That was such a weird song choice. Like, I'm like, I understand you want them to sing English, whatever, and you want to have a lounge singer, whatever, I guess. But why a Scottish folk song?
But imagine being the actual lounge singer who's just like, you want me to sing what? I mean, I guess I'm getting paid, but wow.
Yeah, that was
like, okay, you can have the song. Why so slow though? It's
It
like
is a very slow rendition. It's
Right.
weird.
Right.
it's
But
it's slower than the original.
Dirge.
But in contrast, right? Like when they set this all up, this is first where you see that white trench coat. So like Show is running around in this all black, leathered out jumpsuit situation, right? And he has guns everywhere. His guns on his back. He has like 10 guns. He has like
He got guns on
Matrix.
his butt.
yeah, he has 5 guns on each side, right? And then he puts this big old white leather trench coat. He looks like Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh! You know what I'm saying? Like just has this
Screw the rules. I have money.
right. And so it's so in contrast to that song and even that scene, Show is over the top. Like he's like acting way over the top. He's like, "Oh my god, look at me, pay attention to me." And so yeah, I mean contrast to like the music that was going on, which is the musical selection was crazy. This is kind of like you see this way over the top. You see Sun is like a badass. He doesn't even flinch, right? He pulls his, opens up his coat. He sees all these guns, and they really don't even like. They're like, okay, whatever, and that kind of like sets this tone. Like Sun jumps up, like, oh, I'm gonna be the man, and Sun don't even got no pistol. Like he just jump up, like he gonna do something, but I guess it's like
Tight leather pants.
Who said it? There was a lot of peacocking in that scene, right?
Me.
Right.
God. Yeah, he just sits there and goes, and he just literally sits there like this for 30 seconds, and then it like focuses in on his groin.
Right.
Why?
Right.
I was just like, there were some very tight pants there, sir. I mean, we know that you're packing heat, but
He's packing heat in multiple ways. They want you to know this. He's the man.
Right.
hey.
Right. And he had the braids to prove it.
Was such a bizarre, and he just like struck such a weird pose.
Right.
I was just like, I'm sure it's symbolic of something. I just don't know what it is.
Right.
And it was very Neo.
Yeah. And like it was also kind of like reminiscent of Footloose with Kevin Bacon just going whoop like on his feet. Just why that pose? Why just a whoof?
Well,
I think he sees it as like a power stance.
Right,
Like, hey,
as I think about it, he did the pose earlier in the movie.
It was
You
a
have
power
to
move to
peacock.
walk in and then turn his back on them, and he's like, "I'm ignoring you." That's bold to turn your back on your enemy. That's a statement
to
right there.
peacock.
You didn't need to turn around and go, "Wah!"
No, he had to wear his super dark, opaque sunglasses that are round, his Neo white trench coat, exactly, his 5,000 gun holsters, and be like, look at what you could be dealing with.
Right.
Look at the
But-
tiny little package in front.
I am too, I have too many other things to deal with besides you.
No, posture check.
He
Posture
had to
check.
peacock. He had to
Posture
peacock.
check. Everybody, posture check.
Ugh.
Excuse me. I now have a stick up my ass.
Oh, that feels so good. I felt
Anyway,
everything.
Thanks, Smoke.
Thank you, Smokey.
Crack.
That's to set up what happens with Show's brother, Shin. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. When he goes outside and he's like, you could tell he's high off his ass, and he sees Chen, and he's just sitting there for a little bit. He pulls a gun on him while the guy's holding a baby.
Oh, right. Oh. Yeah.
Yeah. So he goes. So Shinji goes to their headquarters. He goes
To their district.
Their district, yeah, like basically, and it's like their family, or it's like Chan's kid or Chan's grandkid or whatever, and there's like a bunch of kids
Right.
hanging
I thought he
around.
was campaigning. Like, dude was sitting at the bar. He done got high. He's sitting at the cafe, right, in his district with a pistol out. Like, the pistol's not even concealed. He's like holding it, right? He's holding like right here. And to me, the
Several
scene looked
carry
like
laws.
the guy was campaigning. He's like going around knocking on doors and kissing the babies and being like, hey. So I didn't know what relationship that was. I just thought that, especially with his goons, like they were like passing out like, okay, we want the kids to love us. Let's give the kids toys. And, oh, let me knock. Oh, hey, look at my baby. And he was kissing the baby. That's how I felt. Like it didn't seem like they were
That
relatives.
could be it. too.
Grooming him for a child army.
Right.
Well,
Come
I
to the
mean-
cool side. We got candy, kids.
Right.
He's saying that he wants to further the cause of the Taiwanese people,
Right.
And I think he's trying to endear the future generations to him so that they listen to him as well.
That's how I took that. That's how I took that scene. Like, he was going around to the neighborhood and being like, "Hey, I'm Chan for district president. Hey, we're giving kids, we're giving kids water guns and, So that's how I took that scene. But yeah, so
except the older teens, they get real guns.
Oh yeah, they get the real thing.
Anyway, so Shinjin, high off his ass, goes and visits Chan, and
he's holding the gun out there for like 10 minutes.
Oh my god!
Just pointing it at him, and then
So
finally he
long.
stands up, and they're like looking right at him, and then these teenagers just like kill him, and he just falls over.
Right.
Yeah. They're just like,
yeah, and you don't know who they are, right? Because
what a stand.
Yeah, like Son is dressed up mafioso, right? So he's mafia. And then Chan is mafioso, right? And then you got these kids giving out water guns, and they look like 90s teenagers with baggy clothes and oversized jerseys. So you're just
and
like,
their headphones.
Yes.
Yeah, the big ass headphones.
Right, the big ass. So you don't really know. You're like, oh, okay, whatever. And then of course, come to find out, they're sleeper agents. They're there just in case something like that pop off. So Son didn't care. Son sat there and he was looking at him for like 15 minutes while Shenzhen, whatever his name was, holding the gun. He was just like, okay, what's up? What you gonna do with that? And then of course Chan was just holding the baby like oh hey, oh yeah, okay, what you gonna do? And then of course
holding the baby, looking at the gun, being like, yeah, you're not gonna shoot me. I got a baby.
Right. And then
that's a meat shield, okay? Not a baby. Meat
that's why
shield.
Shinjin hesitated because he had the baby.
Right, he had the baby. He hesitated for like 20 years and got shot at least 4 times because I saw the little bullet pop holes.
Plot armor.
Oh, it was like pop, 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 and then of course he fall over, and then it goes bad from there.
So the one thing that I wanted to say before this is that I find it really. And we'll talk about that later. But one thing that was really funny to me is just their costumes. I'll go into a little treatise about it, but like those guys, the mafia guys, costumes who killed Toshi, I forgot to mention this, stuck out like a sore thumb because they filmed on location in Taiwan, and so they're literally walking down real streets in Taiwan. And everybody else is in like regular turn of the 21st century garb. And then you have these guys who in like giant trench coats and neon colors following like the other guy. And I'm just like, it's, yeah.
They didn't have the budget to close down a street. They didn't have the budget.
No.
And I'm just like, this looks so bad. Like, why is the thing that's happening?
Yeah, like you knew who the bad guy was.
Specifically to piss you off. They're just like, CrimsonShieldScholar is going to watch this film almost 20 years later, and she's going to hate this. We have to do it.
Right.
You need to differentiate between regular people and the bad guys. They did that.
Oh, right, yeah. And we'll talk about that, because I'll get into that.
Right. So
but that dude's hair.
Yeah,
that dude's hair, though.
So that takes us into, we're basically getting into the end game here, right? Because now
what we think is the end game.
Right. So now Shou's brother's dead. His group is dead, right? His peoples is dead. And so now go ahead.
I was like, so it cuts after Shinjin is dead. It cuts to a weird mausoleum thing because
like a morgue or something, right?
Yeah. And Shou comes with Yichen being like, hey, is this not my brother can't be dead? My brother can't be dead. And I was like, oh, my brother is dead. And Chen is there. Son is there. And he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And he's like, I'm gonna kill you. And it gets like really like up in each other's face.
Right.
And that's for the first time since she was a child, Yichen speaks.
Right. And
tells them, stop it. Why can't we all just get along?
But also, the worst part is right in front of his wife, who is Chen's sister. He says, I'm going to kill your family.
Right. I'm going to kill you and your whole family.
You married his
sister.
Me.
I have a problem with that. I'm your family.
Right.
And also,
I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill your family. I was like, so you're going to kill your wife and you're going to kill your daughter?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Like, okay, did you not think this threat through? Okay?
No, he did not. He was mad. He was highly upset.
And that segues into, hey, Yichi is in the hospital.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, like, she's got Hana in there drawing pictures and everything. And then Chen comes in and she's like, Grandpa, you made it. You've never met my daughter. Say hi to your grandfather. And she's like, hi, Grandpa. And it's Chen. It's like his nephew or his niece. And
He flew.
and then, she calls Show K. So you can tell she's kind of going, and then he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he's like, "It's a brain tumor. It's gonna spread everywhere. It's not very. That could take too long. She's dying."
Right.
And then so they're like, "Okay, well, when this is over, we're gonna go like gunfight each other because I
So
can't stand you.
Reason.
You can't stand me. Let's
Right.
just solve this."
Because
Right,
the
so-
reason for their peace, which was
Right, the
Yi
reason-
Chen, is no longer going to be around. So at that point, there's no reason for them to not kill each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they go to the rooftop and they have this conversation about what's going on, and he, shows like it's none of your business, and he's like, no, that's still my sister. And so yeah, that's when they have that discussion, and then he basically says the next time we see each other, we're going to be pointing guns at each other. We're done. And so after Yi Chen dies, right, or they don't show.
Well, no.
No, she's not dead yet.
Yeah, I was going to say
No.
right.
He calls. So then it cuts to Kai, who is finally granted his wish to
Hi.
be killed because his I guess trial finished, and they said, okay, you're gonna be moved to death row, and in a weird way. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this.
Yeah, that was weird. That was weird. They're gonna be like, yeah, we're gonna.
Maybe that's how courts work in the
Right.
future in mainland China. They're just like, yeah, we're gonna move you to death row, even though he was already inside, which was weird. And then he was also the execution was scheduled for tomorrow, which
Yeah,
is
tomorrow.
It's weird.
Right.
not a
Like, when
thing
you're
that
in death
happened.
row, it's a while. You're on there for a while because you got to
Yeah.
have time for appeals processes and stuff. And he's like, "Hey, you're gonna die tomorrow."
Yeah, and I was
But
like, what?
he's been asking for so long to die.
Right.
It's just for the fact that, like, okay, let's speed it up then.
Yeah.
Right.
So as they are walking, they get a phone call because that's plot convenience. And yeah.
Execution, shall we?
Do you want to say that is?
May I just say this is the most beautiful part of the movie. It also seals in, like, for sure that something is, like, romantically going on somewhere because he's like, I can't go on alone. I need you. And then suddenly that's, like, what drives him to suddenly find his will to live again after 9 years. He's like, I need to go back to him. He needs me and I need him. Let's go. Let's do this.
Right. Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Show
call.
Yeah, and that happens, right? I'm gonna call the court and patch me through to the maximum security prison to the phone that he's gonna walk by at this time.
And the dude
He
is
used all
like,
his mafia
yeah, you
connections.
know what? Have a phone call. This
Right.
is convenient. Let's do this.
Right,
Fine.
right. Yeah. So that's where you see Show break down because like he basically had told Kay everything's good and blah blah blah. And then again, this is where you get that we go into that he lost his boys, he lost his brother, his wife is dying, and he kind of at the end he knows basically in the mafia world his time is coming, and then now his somewhat ally brother-in-law is like, hey, I'm staying with my people because that's who I wanted. That's honorable, right? He wanted to stay with his people to help bring his people up, but burnt his friendship with the group. And so he was, that plea that, what, I'm at my end's rope. Everything I have to live for is done and over with. I need you. And yeah, that's when Kay's like, get some sense.
Also, apparently, death row is like not where the maximum security solitary confinement prison was,
Right.
or they weren't executing him in that location, which was also really strange.
Right.
They were just gonna like throw him out the back of a truck on the way somewhere. It's fine. It's
Right.
But
fine.
also, may I just say, like, when they're out driving him there, all you hear is bang, bang.
Right.
And then the guy's, like, hanging out of the back and he's dead. And it's like, why did he have a gun? Why was Kay not in a position
Wait,
to?
wait.
Why was he able to
Where
point
was
the
the
gun and kill this
blanket?
guy?
Blanket.
Where was
Where's
the
the blanket?
blanket?
Why is there a blanket?
He has his little vampire snuggie, and he's
Armor
like
takes the
looking
shape
at.
of a blanket now. Didn't you know?
Right.
It's the snuggie, the
Literally.
vampire snuggie.
Not only that though, like you hear the gunshot, but I think like he ate the guy though, didn't he? Like he had
No,
to
he
have
was
eaten him.
Nah, he just
didn't.
shot him.
Okay.
Shot him.
How does
And
that
then
happen?
you see him booking it, and the guy's
He has
like shooting
blood
at him, and he's
here.
missing terribly because he's not got the gun sideways,
Blood.
obviously.
Obviously.
He was holding the gun like this, not this or this. So
Wait.
therefore he
No, he
missed.
didn't shoot at him though. He decided
didn't
not
shoot.
to
He lost,
shoot.
he lost style points. And
No,
anyway,
yeah,
he
he
stops
didn't
and looks
shoot.
at him, and like there's some eye contact there for a bit, and then
Right.
he's
Oh,
finally
for a
just
long
like,
bit. What do you mean
"Okay,
a
go."
Eye
bit?
contact.
No, it was
He-
like 5 minutes of eye contact. Like, hey, what's up?
It was
I'm
the
smoking.
iconic. I'm in a hood. I'm looking over my shoulder. You
Right.
just
I'm
see my
starting to
face.
smoke.
Right.
And that's when the weird Interpol cop
inspector,
guy, I guess realize I don't know. He was always on Kai's side.
Yeah,
sort of,
he
like,
was very sympathetic to like his like whatever, basically
Yeah.
saying basically.
Psychopath, and he's just like, "Oh, you're a stone cold
But-
killer.
Well,
Teach me."
well, there was
But this
that.
leads into the best part, though, because for as depressed and as sad and as crying as he was, the next thing you see is just Show getting cotton candy, and he's fine.
Right.
All right. Well, let me talk about the inspector guy, right? So the inspector guy, it was interesting because when he had took him to go get killed, he said, "Well, if we kill you, and you come back, we could be friends." Right? Because, like, we've already gotten your sentence, you've gotten killed, but if you so happen to come back, you will no longer be. That's how I took that. He had made a statement to him, like, oh, if you die and come back, then you're basically free. So this was.
I mean, technically, yeah, because he got the death sentence. He died, and if he comes back, well, I mean,
That's
you
technicality.
died.
Right.
You served it.
Right. And so that's why I was like, oh, okay. So that kind of stuck with me. So when they did that whole eye exchange thing, and he was like, well, I want to let you go anyway. I want to be your friend anyway. That made sense. I was like, oh, okay. He was already like on his side, and he's like,
Well, to
Pyrrhic
me,
hypnosis. He turned him into a thrall.
yeah.
no, because to me that whole conversation it was Buddhist, right?
About reincarnation, yeah.
Oh,
Right.
I did not
'Cause,
catch
Like, if
that.
you're reincarnated, I'd like to be your friend.
Right.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't catch that at all.
Yeah.
That went.
So it's because he's like, well, I hope we can be friends when you come back. And Kai's like, wait a minute, do you know who I am? And he's like, what do you mean come back? And he's like, reincarnation, if you believe in that.
Oh, so I missed that.
Yeah. So he's very much a Buddhist. And so I think it was kind of the wheel of life kind of thing where he realizes that he's going to let him go because that's what the path that he's meant to take. So.
And then cotton candy.
Yes.
And then we cut to cotton candy because the cuts in the transition so perfect.
And it would make perfect sense
To
if
be
he was like
honest-
out there with his little girl and he's like, "Here, have some cotton candy." But no,
Right.
it's just him.
It's just him.
In
No,
the
I thought
middle of
his
the
little
night,
girl
like,
was
"Yeah, I
there."
want cotton candy. And then he turns
be honest.
around and like Kay's there and he's like, "Oh, hi."
Well, I
And
thought
it's like,
wasn't Kay
there's
talking
no,
to
I'm like,
Hannah?
No,
That's
not
later.
at that point. And it's not even like, "Hey, oh
That's
my god,
later.
I'm glad to see you. I didn't expect you there." It's just like he turns around, and he's like, "Hi," and he's like, "Oh, hi." Like no surprise, just
Right.
so.
Just so.
To be honest, I would not have been surprised if there's a star wipe through any of that at all. Like the transitions. Just change the transitions. Like,
Right.
So they're in the park by the paintings. That's the only place I guess that they can film.
Right.
And
That's everywhere.
it's now graffitied because to show that time has passed. And they meet and then they have an interesting conversation.
Yes. Do tell.
Oh, is that the one about like where they're at the hospital talking about Ichi?
Yeah.
And he's like, he's like, hold her hand.
Yep.
He's talking about her, and then it shows them kind of by themselves, and he was telling him, "Hey, remember how Luca turned you into a vampire? Like he drained you almost until you died, and then you turned. Do that to her." And he's
right.
like, "What the hell? No, like this is a curse. I'm not doing that to her."
Yeah.
He's like, "I would not do this to anybody."
Right. And that goes back into the beginning of the film, right, where he's disgusted and he's like that's why Luca decided to commit suicide, right?
Monster. Ah!
Yeah. So he yeah, exactly. He Sho tells Kay that, Ichi always liked him, that's who he should have been with, but obviously they couldn't be together because vampire, whatever. And yeah, he asks him to save her, and Kai was like, no, absolutely fucking not.
Right.
But then he
Inappropriate
asks
question
Kai,
about vampire relationships.
then he asks him, well, fine, if you're not going to save her, can you at least like help me take out Chan? And he's like, okay.
Right. Well, is
And
that
then the
the
next
point
thing you
where he
see is,
actually
like-
says that if something was to happen to him, that he wanted him to take care of Hannah? Or am I jumping ahead?
It that happens in the next scene.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
and then he's like, "We'll see." He doesn't even promise, but then in the later on, he's like, "You promised." But it's like, no, he actually didn't. He just said, "We'll see."
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But
now
then they're like in this dilapidated ass
Supposed to
building,
infer.
and Chan's like, "Hey, we're gonna turn this into like low income housing for our poor people," and it kind of is like, "What the hell? Why are you making this guy sympathetic all of a sudden?"
right.
Right.
And then so like Sho and Kay are showing up, and then everybody kind of scatters, and Chan's like sitting next to Chen talking to him, and there's these teenagers, and
Well,
eventually
let's talk about
Chen
because
just like
this is where we get to like there's not that much talking, but there's a whole lot of shooting. Yeah, there's a whole lot of so
Best
everywhere.
movie.
right. So yeah, this is definitely that climax. I'm gonna where it's this is where a lot of that budget went. Right, with all the bullets
No.
they shot
All the
out.
bullets.
Sho's
Right.
taking more bullets than he's taken this entire movie.
Oh,
and
man.
it's like you get the feeling he's trying to die.
In
Like,
the
he wants to die.
Right.
After begging Kay to come back because
Well-
he's like, I can't live without you.
Let's just blow like 6 holes in each arm, and
Yeah,
let's
pretty
see how
much.
well he
His-
shoot.
Right.
His humerus should have been shattered on both. He should have had noodle arms.
Right.
The gingiva.
No, they're
Right.
just flesh wounds.
But it's
they're
Hollywood.
Just flesh
That's what I was saying the whole
then
time.
he's-
That's only a
That's
flesh
what
wound.
bullets
Yeah,
do.
there wasn't really
Okay.
enough. There's not really enough blood for like an
middle.
arterial cut.
It's
It's all
Oh.
next.
Yeah. So
Yeah, they're on X.
right. So
But
of course, Sho is like, okay, we're about to do this Matrix style, right? So he goes in there, guns a blazing. Of course, he's crossways, this way, that way. He's hitting shots he shouldn't get hit. And then, of course, the way they used to work was Kay would spot him. He would tell him where the guys are so he could shoot, make him all badass and shit. And so, but Kay is, now he has a death wish, right? Because he's like, I'm not taking cover.
Hyper-reckless.
Right, I'm not going to take cover. Either you're going to, basically, he's like, okay, you're either going to tell me where these guys are, and I'm not taking cover, and so that's when he starts getting hit with these bullets you guys talked about. But he's super reckless, and he wants to die, basically, is how I felt in this last gunfight.
So yeah, so like before they start shooting, Sho tells Kay, he's like, hey, if anything were to happen to me, make sure you take care of Hannah. And he's like, I guess, but like nothing's gonna happen to you. And he's like, oh, just in case, promise me. And like Daddy said, never did.
Right.
He was like, I guess we can.
Right.
Yeah, and then they go in guns blazing, and yeah, it's just like it was in their initial old time. So it was a cool callback to the beginning of the film, where it's like, to your left, to your right, to your left. And he's like, but are you gonna take cover? And he's like, no.
Right. Yeah.
Why
right,
would I?
Right. Right. He
He doesn't
definitely
even
has
have
that.
a chest high wall, man. He's just like,
Yeah.
what is cover?
Yeah, he definitely had that death wish, and that's why I'm sure he made him promise, because he knew he was gonna die. Like, it's like, I'm gonna take as many guys out as I can, and I'm gonna kill Sun, and I'm gonna die in the process. So
Right.
He can
kills all the
stand.
henchmen, and then these teenagers are like, Chan's talking to them like, hey man, Chen was like, you kids, he just rose up, you guys could be good too, and then they kill Chan, and they're like, hey, we're the best now.
Right, and these are the kids that actually killed Sun's brother,
Yeah.
or
They're
Sho's brother.
Sho's brother.
Yeah,
Shinjin.
yeah. So so they're like the new up and comers, and yeah, they have this whole mentality. Because I thought that was very strange. But Chan's sitting there chilling with them, and either they hopped up on some drugs or whoever done got into their head. But they're like, yeah, we kill you, we top dogs. I thought that, to me, that was anticlimactic. I was like, man, I wanted bullet time to kill this guy. No, you got these young punks doing it. Like, oh, come on, guys.
Well,
I feel like we need to mention the best part of it ever, which was that Sho's hair got even longer and
Oh,
he got
yes.
even more
And more
brave.
beautiful.
Right.
And I think his pants got impossibly more tighter.
Right.
They did. This time
It
they
helped
didn't
him with
showcase it though.
reflexes,
He
though.
didn't sit there and go,
Yeah.
It helped him
Yeah,
with his
it's
gun
like-
reflexes.
You
I
just kind of see
mean,
it in passing. you didn't
Pinch-a-Penny is a
focus.
thing.
Right.
So Chan sends Chen out being like, do what I taught you to do, live for our family. And so then you know that they're gonna have their standoff at the end, and then he's chilling with the guys, and the guys, I guess it's there are meanings about that, and I can get into that later. But anyway, it that you think it was, because there's a lot of like stuff that you can read into that. Anyway, I also found it very interesting at that point that Sho is still wearing his trench coat, and at this point on, Chen and Chan wear all black, so
Right.
it's very much the
The
black
contrast.
Business
Right.
suits.
The
Right.
black guys wearing black are bad. The guys wearing white are good,
Right.
quote unquote.
Right. Or that was that contrasting, whatever you want to
and then
call it,
also
good
that
versus
would make
evil
Kay
or whatever.
kind of like morally gray because he's wearing red like always.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Red and gray. His shirt's gray. So
So then also though, like
the costuming in this movie was pretty on point. But yeah.
Yeah. So
but,
they. So.
So they have
Son's
a
hurt. Right,
shootout.
like Sho's hurt. Right. Sho's hurt.
Yeah.
And Son
Sun
comes
shows
out.
up.
Yep. Son comes out. Right. And then.
and he shoots the ceiling so
Right.
the sun's coming through and Kay can't follow him
Right.
and then he's getting a gunfight.
Yeah,
Kay's
he did-
trapped in a bathroom.
Because I don't think he wanted Kay to interfere. Is what I.
He did
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
He
in
didn't
order
want
to.
Kay to save him.
Yeah.
He
In
wanted
order.
There's
easy
nothing
way out,
worth
and he
living
wanted
for.
a chance of rescue.
Right. So
Meanwhile, all of us are watching it screaming, all he has to do is drag him 5 feet in any direction.
Right. So he shoots the ceiling so that Kay can't help him, and then they go have this. I mean, they had no budget in this gunfight when they fought each other. I mean, come on. I mean, you're running
There
and
wasn't even muzzle flash at this
No.
point. It was just
Through your hit.
It
right.
was just the sounds and the sounds of things hitting the concrete, even though the concrete didn't break or
Right.
like.
They had
Right, yeah. I mean, there was no. I mean, and then let's not even talk about the physics. Like, there's no way you're not gonna hit this guy. Like, he's literally running from you in a straight line, and you're shooting like 12 rounds off. There's no way he did not get
They were
hit.
right at each other. I'm like,
Yeah.
if you guys don't hit each other, you guys are so bad. What
Right, it
you're
was-
doing.
what
Like-
happened to all that
That's the
100%
point.
accuracy from earlier.
Yeah. Oh man, it was. But I mean, there's so many other movies that do such a great job with close quarters gunfights, and this was not one of them. This was like you're just like. I mean, there is no way the physics work. I mean, you guys aren't even fast enough to even look like you could dodge a bullet. You know,
Right.
I mean,
But
You're just
then you forgot,
modeling the
you guys
Matrix
forget the
because those
best
physics
trope,
don't
though.
work either.
you're right.
But that's in the Matrix, so that makes sense.
yeah.
You
Right,
forgot
I mean,
the best trope where the
Details.
the teen punks that just killed Chan go and like shoot up Kay for no reason. They just
Oh,
see him,
right.
they're like bang, 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 and then they immediately turn around without bothering to check. And
right.
he gets up because he's a vampire, obviously.
Oh, and this is the
and then
crazy
he goes
part.
after them, like just
Right.
tears into him.
In the sun. Like he
the
literally
sun.
goes through this area where he done shot the ceiling out, and he's like, I'm gonna rip him a new one, and I'm gonna
No,
rip this guy a
no.
new one.
So here's my my thought process on this is that the sun had gone down at that point, which I know doesn't make any sense
Well-
at all. But I
Plot
think
armor.
but time may have
Cloud
passed
cover.
because like then when he comes out into the courtyard where with Sho, there's moonlight. There's like intense moonlight on him.
Well,
So I think like the light that was coming through had switched because it made a big deal about the moon's never been this big before. Blah
Right.
blah blah.
well,
That's
so-
like it's got to be a huge,
Mhm.
bright ass moon because that's a lot of light.
bro. Well,
Yeah.
so here was the one thing, right? Is that it started to rain again. So I'm
Right.
thinking to myself, like, okay, well, maybe it's
Cloud
cloud
cover.
cover. Right? Maybe it's cloud cover. It blocks UV light, but I mean, it was like it stopped him from going to help. Show. But when he was like, dude, y'all done shot me like 12 times. I'm going to get you and your partner. And that's where I thought it was anticlimactic because I really felt like Chan was the bad guy. and I really felt that there should have been an epic way to kill him, and to have some young punks do it in a bathroom, basically, because he was in a tub, right, when they showed his dead
Right.
body. I'm just like, oh, come on. I wanted to see. He was an asshole the whole fucking movie, right? He done got all his boys killed, and I mean, he should have went out royally, in my opinion, but I digress. So
So back to the fact that there were 50 bajillion guns or bullets in these magazines. I love that they can shoot as many bullets as they possibly need to. Just keep going, keep going, keep going. And then they have the line of, we'll shoot until we run out of bullets. And I'm like, but when do you run out of bullets?
right.
And then
Both.
You have
they both
infinite
shoot.
clips.
Well, they shoot at the same rate because they both have one bullet left
Right.
at the end.
Right.
and they're like, let's do this, like, let's duel, man. Like, let's
Like,
do this Hamilton style, man.
Right. Which I didn't get. Did Show so the conclusion to that, right? Show gets shot, Sun does not, right?
And he says, you didn't fire.
Right. Okay. See, so that's I was like, wait, did Show have a death wish? Did he want to just die anyway?
Oh, totally. He didn't fire. You never hear his gun go off.
Right,
He didn't-
No, you do hear his gun go off. Show's gun misfires.
Oh.
Show's gun misfires, and his and Sun's gun shoot.
This
So
is
yes,
fine
while
for you.
he did have a death wish, he also wanted to kill Sun. It's not like it was Kai killing him or whatever. It's not like somebody else that he was like, I don't want to kill you. No, he definitely did want to kill Sun. So no, his gun. That's why when he shows his hand, it's gun residue on his hand, and he's like, no, I did fire, but it
Okay.
misfired.
Okay, because I
And then
was
he's like, he's
Solo
telling him, hey,
shot
man,
first.
watch my kid. You got to take care of my kid.
well.
And he's like, yeah, okay. And then Kay comes in, sees that Kay is dying, and Chen is just standing there. He's like, no. And then he fucking kills him. And it's like, oh my god, who's going to watch out for Hana now? Because he was supposed to do it.
So wait,
Well-
what happened to Chen?
Walks up to his lover.
Well, what happened
and
to
the
Sun?
moonlight is striking down on him.
Sun
and
dies.
laying
Sun
against
gets
rocks.
Sun gets killed by Kai because Kai comes up and sees Show on the ground, sees Sun point a gun at him, and doesn't. I mean, one, it doesn't matter because guns obviously can't kill him, but two, doesn't realize that it's empty, right? So like he wouldn't be
Yeah,
able
it's out
to
of
kill him
bullets.
Oh,
anyway.
that's right.
It's out of bullets.
I think Elf had said that. Like, oh, what was the point of him pointing the gun if he didn't have any more bullets in it?
Because it's instinct.
Right.
And then Kai was just like, what the fuck, and just like unloaded his magazine into
Okay.
Sun.
So yeah. Okay. So okay.
So that's why Sun is dead.
Ooh, let's bring
like you said,
let's
he
bring
goes-
it home,
he goes to his
guys.
lover.
Yeah, let's bring it home. Bring it home with this, because this was the build up, baby. Bring it home, Elf.
And this is the most beautiful part because, you know, he's like holding him and you could see he's like shaking. He's about to die. And he's like reaching up towards the sky. And he grabs his hand and pulls him down like, no, you're not dying. And then it looks, for all intents and purposes, like he's dead. And he's just like, Kay is just devastated. You can hear it. And then, like, it skips again. And it's at Hana refinishing her mom's painting and, like, adding to it.
Yeah. So this is like, I want to say like a good. Did you guys do the math earlier?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
2045.
this is 2045.
Right.
This is
Okay.
2045.
And then, you know, Kay's greeting her at night and he's seeing her off to college and says, you know, hey, you know, do a good job, paint great pictures, have a good life, basically.
Right.
And
So-
she says, thank you, which implies that, you know, he has been raising her.
Right.
And then, you know, it seems like that's it. And then
Oh
Show's
well.
there.
Well, see, that was the
No.
thing, right? She's
Seems
like
like it's that.
right.
That's
So
it.
she's like she walks out and walks around and she looks, and then Kay
Oh,
says,
yeah.
"What's going on?" He's like, "I think there's somebody watching us," and so that kind of like ugly verbodes into what's happening next. You're just like, and then of course Kay's like, "Man, dude, whatever," yeah,
Could just be a spirit, you know?
right,
Spirit of
right,
your mom and
you
dad.
know, yeah,
watching
your
you
mom
raise.
and yeah, right, and yeah. So then you're like, oh, okay, cool, and then here goes Mr. White Trench Coat.
And he says, you know,
With no
I was
bolts.
ashamed of what I'd become. I couldn't stand the thought of her seeing me like this. And he's like, what the hell? That's hypocritical. You know, you were here. You could have raised her. Like, that's just bad parenting.
Right.
And then, you know,
So yeah, and to me there goes that let's talk about that, right? So the whole time he was like, no, I'm a monster, blah 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 blah. I would never do this to anybody. I'm not gonna do it to Chen
And he
Yi.
went back on his word and
Right,
did it to
and then
somebody.
through his grief, right? Because we already sensed like, hey, you know what? Y'all kind of look like lovers. Let's just be very clear. Y'all into
For
each
real.
other's space, and y'all doing these monologues to each other, and I mean, just like you're
Rise
really
each other's back.
right. I mean, but you're also like there was that whole thing about the whole disgusted piece, and I want to say when he revealed to to Sun, when that whole scene happened, and Show wanted him to stop. I want to say like part of the motivation of being away for 9 years was because his I ain't gonna his lover looked at him like he was a monster for the first time throughout their whole relationship, right? Like this was what it
I think
was.
that's probably true.
You knew I'm a vampire. You told me I should go eat, right? Because you wanted me to be good. And then now, after this whole tragic incident, now you're like, please stop, please stop. You're looking at me like I'm a monster, like I've told you I am. And you always told me that I wasn't. And this is that first time where I'm like, you know, and so you have that grief of oh, you look at me in a such a way I can't be. That's how I kind of took, and that piece was like, I don't want to be around you. And this is me making it up, right? Because it doesn't really the movie doesn't do a good job in doing that. But I made that up like, oh,
Right.
okay, yeah, like he must have left for so long because of that dynamic, because of like and then of course we were talking about it throughout the whole movie when we're watching it, like there's some chemistry here. And then in the very end, through this grief, like he knew what was gonna happen, and through like the whole movie, he's like, "Oh no, I'd never turn anybody into a monster until the person to me that he loved was gonna die."
And
And
again, circling back, but by that merit, the thing that brought him back was the reconciliation too, because he says, "I need you. I can't go on alone."
right,
And he's like, "Hey, he doesn't see me the
Solution.
same way anymore."
right,
There's a very, very easy solution here.
right, yes. So yeah, and that was so he obviously, the plot point is that they don't show it, but Kay turns Show into a vampire. And I kind of didn't know this, but kind of listened to you guys talk about it. I was like, okay. So it turns out that he decided not to raise Hannah because he thought of himself as a monster, and he didn't want to be around his daughter of him thinking himself like that. And then of
Well,
course,
It was okay for Kay
but
to do that.
right,
it was better for her to think that he died than for her to realize what he had become is what his thought process was.
okay,
And that's why Kai tells him, "You're selfish." And he said that when he wanted to turn Yi Chen into a vampire as well. It's like, you're selfish. You're not doing it for the betterment of anybody else. You're doing it for your own emotions. So like, you want to save Yi Chen, you want to turn her into a vampire because you can't live without her, not looking to be what's the best interest for her. And it's the same again with raising Hana. It's like, you didn't want her to see you like that, but you didn't give her the choice. You didn't give her the opportunity to say, yes, I like you, no, I don't, because you were afraid of what the rejection would have been like if you had gotten that.
right.
So he was, again, very selfish about saying, I can't handle that if that were to happen, so I'm just going to peace out until she's 18 and goes off to college, because he's not even around Kai at that point either.
Right.
So it's not like they got a relationship together or whatever. Like, he left and then
Right.
he finally came back to, like, see her off.
And that's, again, I didn't catch if he was still there or not, or was he there with Kay,
I mean, you could imagine
and then
there was some
not be in
download
the
stuff.
picture with her. But yeah, I guess as you guys are here, I'm like, oh yeah, so he was not around for any of them for that
because
amount of
Kai
time.
literally says, he's like, oh, you were angry with me, why did you return? And that's when he says, he's like, I wanted to see her, like, well, thank you for what you did, and blah 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 blah. So
Right. And then this is where we get to the.
He's like, you still mad, bro? You still mad?
You mad? You big mad? You angry?
Right.
You big mad?
And
It's
then,
like, yeah.
but then this is when you're gonna get to this whole little sappy part, right? And he's just like, well, do you want to go to the beach?
Yeah, he's
Right.
like, let's go to the beach.
And
And
then-
then you find out Show learned to drive at some point.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
yes.
That's what he was doing in all those years where he wasn't raising Hana. He was learning how to drive.
Right.
But one day he could
Wait.
take his lover to the beach and they could die together.
Right.
No, you
Yes.
turn into
So-
a vampire, you have these supernatural driving abilities now.
Oh, is
There,
that how
that
it works?
explains it.
Well, you do have really good,
Night vision.
perception
Right.
and night vision.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
So-
I guess that makes
Reflexes.
sense.
Yeah.
reflexes,
Good
right?
reflexes, yeah.
So they go to the beach.
But
right.
the road rage that comes with it, is that really worth the price? I mean,
And yeah, that's fair.
Right?
you can go into like an absolute blood rage over the smallest things. Just
That's fine.
Did it die?
Krogan style.
Right. That's fine. Sorry.
And
So
then,
yeah, so they go to the beach. They're driving to the beach. On the way there, they start quoting the poem that
Yeah.
Luca
Luca, yeah.
quoted Kai back in the day about the final farewell. And then it turns into a song because you realize that it's the song that the guys who are the actors are both, singers.
you
So
know.
they're like, we're going to do a duet at the end of the movie because
it's
that's
such a
what.
beautiful song.
Because
too.
we're definitely not lovers.
Right.
Because
Right.
They
I
that's
mean,
why
released it as a
made this
single,
movie.
and it sounds so romantic. I mean, it's crazy.
it really does. This is where that pulled that heartstring for me. I was like, damn.
Same.
After
But-
all of
Mothers
that,
in the night.
after all of
Instead
that,
of watching them burn like what happened with Luca, you just see everybody back together in the beach in the daytime, which is what they talked about.
well,
Well,
The car first.
It's like
Well,
Yeah.
so
they-
they
ran
focus
out
on the
of money.
car. Well, they did run out of money to do a body burn,
Right.
but they focus on the car and then they fade away. So it does that weird early 2000s, late 90s fade where
Right.
they go from like there to translucent to gone, and then it
Right.
cuts to all five of them at the beach in what you can either reinterpret as the afterlife or them all being reincarnated and finding each other in the next life.
Right.
What I
That's
call
so
bullshit.
beautiful.
What I call bullshit is when Luca died, he burst into flames.
It took
That
forever
car-
to burn too.
That car is in pristine condition.
I mean, he wasn't in the car.
Maybe they just got out of the car to burn
they
to save
disappeared.
the car.
Right. So I mean,
Maybe they
It's the
actually
car
like got
next
out
is,
of the
like,
car and
gonna
went
have
down to the
ghost
beach to burn on the
grandfather
actual
father.
beach,
Right.
not just in the car.
and I like I said, I that's where I was just like,
Aw.
they for what it was, the budget they had, the cinematography, the
A
director,
really good job
the-
for
the-
only $3 million.
I mean, the director of photography. Well, $3 million back then was a lot of money. And we're a foreign
even-
film.
In 2003, you're still talking about 10 to 12,
Shoestring
15
budget
million.
though.
Really?
And then
Yeah.
Okay.
But okay, think about this.
It came out in 2003.
was also when Return of the King came out. Think of the budget of Return of the King.
Well,
You're talking
come on.
about
Right? No, we're talking about a franchise that has major
Right, but what
following.
I'm
Hundreds.
right. What I'm
The
saying is you got $200 or $250 million budget for Return of the King. Indie films are still gonna have a $10 to $15 million budget.
Right. Okay. So for what they had,
it was really good, honestly.
yes,
For such-
I mean that
for such a
last
small
part,
budget.
yeah, for what they could do and make that last scene, pull out that heartstring where it brings them back to better times after going through all this craziness and being away from each other and making these life promises to each other, right? Because obviously Kay had a sense of duty to do this life thing. They did a really great job in that. In that is they really made you feel like they connected everybody, and then everybody kind of went their own way, and then at the end of life, basically everybody died. They did go back to that better time, that picture montage that made you like, damn, how
You're right.
yeah, it made you reflect on where they were to where they ended up. So
Not gonna lie, 2003 Elf cried a lot.
it'd have been, what?
Starting with no
Right.
Toshi,
Right. And
then
Yeah.
all through it, I was like, oh.
yeah, so
Reminds me of another vampire film, and this one's Swedish. It's also a shoestring budget, but they did their budget really well. Let the Right One In.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've heard
Yeah,
of that.
this
never heard
the Swedish
heard.
one is way better than the Americanized
I
version.
never saw the American one, but the Swedish one is creepy as fuck. But
It
it's really
is, but yeah,
I'm
it's
not
very
watching it.
reminiscent of this one. Just
Okay.
instead of Asian inspired, it's more of a like northern Nordic. Oh God, creepy horror in the night thing, and oh man,
creepy children. So creepy.
creepy children for sure. But it's just like there was, hey, lick 'em up, what's up?
Lick.
Yeah, just that
Like,
was another example of a really tight budget, but when they used their money, you could tell, and it was really well done. And just that end scene of the pool.
It
So
was so
yeah.
good.
if we're
So,
talking horror
well,
movies,
let's
there's
let's
one.
finish up with this because we could definitely
Yeah,
go into a whole nother
for sure.
conversation of things. Um, so yeah, that's basically the end of the movie, right, guys? Um, uh, yeah, so I guess let's talk about some trivia. So right, did I miss any of that while I was away?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about trivia of the movie. I personally couldn't find anything. Of course, I mean I ain't gonna lie to you, I did not look that hard. All right, let's. I was gonna rely on Elf, so shame on me. I'm gonna just be transparent with it. So
I
what do you
have
guys
a
got?
jillion trivia.
Let's go. Let's go over some.
Okay, so let's start with Okay, so we'll start with the
Got raid.
actors.
Yep.
We'll go
Dark.
with the least to the most. So the guy who plays Toshi is also in another popular Japanese film, Battle Royale, which I know we touched on briefly yesterday. I think Potions brought it
Yeah,
up.
I like that one too.
Toshi is like the badass of the group, and it's like an excellent film. Like I can't recommend it highly enough. And it is like
Oh God.
it is basically the Hunger Games before the Hunger Games existed, which is why I don't like the Hunger Games that much. Like it is good for what it is, but I felt it borrowed too heavily from Battle Royale. And
I've heard
also,
good things about Battle Royale.
yeah, it is really good. Like because
I liked it a lot.
instead of people from a district, it's all like school children from a district, like from different
Remedial
schools,
schools.
and they pick them at random, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna take this class from this school, this class from this school," because they don't want too much of a population. Like they need to decrease the population, and letting kids kill each other in gruesome, graphic, violent ways on an island is apparently the solution
The
to
way
that.
to go. Hold that thought. So let's go ahead and take care of some business. There's been a bunch of Shadow Pack members that's come in, and we've been trying to give shout outs. Want to first of all say love everybody for coming through, saying hi, saying what's up. Um, Dark, thank you for the raid. If you guys are coming over from Dark Stream for the raid, just so you guys know who we are the Shadow Pack Squares. Obviously, we are on the same team, the Shadow Pack gaming community with Dark Duality. So thank you for coming on over if you're staying in. We are a different type of content creator than the streamers. We are content creators, and we review different types of pop culture stuff. Our first episode,
Last week was Eminem.
right. Our first episode was Tom and Jerry, and then we went to the other side of the universe. Last week we talked about Eminem, and this week we are talking about an indie foreign film called Moonchild that Elf picked. So if you're liking this type of content, like I said, you can find myself. This is the Crimson Shield Scholar, Elf Daddy, PotionsMaster, and StealthKing 500. Together we're the Shadow Pack Squares. If you have any questions, comments, or emotional outbursts for us, you can also check us out at the website. I'll put that in the chat, and again the Twitter. Put the team Twitter right there. If you guys are interested in any of the things that we got going on. So anyway, thank you for stopping in. Let me go give you guys some wolves. Let me give you some horns, and of course the victory. It's a lot of sounds going on right there. I don't know if they can hear it, but I can. So thank you for everybody for coming in. Like I said, we have Dark, Lick, Sauce, Smokey, everybody that came in. Thank you, and let's continue.
And remember, Eminem got 15 copyright violations on YouTube.
Yeah, we're
We
going
did
for the
it. We're
record.
number one.
We're aiming for higher on our next music reference ones.
Right.
Are
Okay.
we really? I don't think that's something to aim for.
It worked out. It was
We're
great.
not monetized on YouTube. It's fine.
Right. As soon as you start monetizing on YouTube, that's when it's gonna be a problem.
Right.
Anyway, continue.
Okay, go ahead, Elf.
Okay. So,
We're talking about show and the Battle Royale.
Okay. So, Toshi was in Battle Royale.
Okay.
And that was about the least connection I've got. I'm pretty sure I've seen Chen somewhere. Maybe the kid. I don't know. I feel like the kid who played Show as a kid might have been the same guy who played Light in the live action Death Note, not the Netflix one, but the actual good one, like the really good one.
Okay. Okay.
actors like a basis for Final Fantasy character or something? Because show fucking looks like Cloud.
Yes. Okay, so Gackt was actually the character model for Genesis Rhapsodus in Crisis Core, and also at the very end of Dirge's Cerberus. And also Genesis was hot too, so like let's just get that out there. Let's clear that up. He has like reddish orange hair, and I'm like, yeah.
Okay.
But also he
So
you know,
Young
does
Spell, just let you know, voices somebody in Full Metal Alchemist.
hey, that circles back to Hyde being in Larkin Seal and doing the Full Metal Alchemist opening. Nice.
Okay. What else? What else you got for us, Crimson? Regale us with your Moonchild trivia.
So my favorite trivia I'll get to in a moment, but I'm gonna screw his name up. Gackt is, if you don't know, because obviously we don't have a lot of big Asian influenced people in this squares. He's really famous. He's a really famous singer, like super duper famous, and he wrote it and he produced it for himself. So he didn't direct it, but he wrote it and he starred in it because he wanted this story to be told. And it's not connected to. It's not connected to in what I could see, but his albums between this film, so the one that came out in 2001 and the one that came out in 2003 or 2004, I don't remember, are Moon and Crescent, and they are a duology. So I'm not quite. I tried to find if like this was like in support of those albums, but I don't know if it was. I just find it's really funny that his albums were Moon and Crescent, and this is Moonchild in the middle of it. But my favorite piece of trivia is the director, Takahisa Zeze, is actually known as one of the most famous softcore pornography directors.
Oh.
Well, that would be why there's so much chemistry between Show and Kay.
That's why the camera angles are the way they are. That's why you have the tilted cameras. That's why you have the really super close-ups. I think that's why you kind of have the faraway shots.
The tight leather pants.
The tight leather pants. The crotch
pacing
shot.
issue.
That little squeak when he does that,
Ravish
catches
me
the guns and
opening
gets on his
peacock.
knees and the leather squeaks. You know, that's why.
Oh.
But softcore porn is otherwise known as pink films, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the pornography industry. And so he is actually known as one of the 4 kings of pink because he is a super, super, super famous softcore porn director.
Everybody's
You
gotta
know
make a
all
living.
this, Crimson. Do you have some interesting side interests? Miss Benephile?
Hey,
I mean, let's be real. I mean, porn sells, so.
She moonlights as a pink writer.
I was
There,
gonna
that's
say, I was gonna say
Crimson
three of us
in the
write
moonlight
fanfic.
turns pink.
Three of us write fanfic, so I mean, it's pretty much a given.
Right.
Yeah, I'm really fair.
Details, Daddy.
Right.
But
That's
also, way too much porn research. Not research of watching porn, but research about the porn industry, about a certain project that I had to write. So I know way too much about it. But anyway.
Oh my God, porn industry drives
knowledge is
technology,
power.
though.
Right.
And it
Knowledge
does.
is
power. Yeah,
It does.
Yeah.
It really does. Porn conventions are
Technology gets better, so the porn gets better.
right.
Yeah.
Well, then, like they're the ones who actually pushed for DVDs.
Or
And
Blu-ray.
Yeah,
they're
because
the
they're
one-
like, hey man, people don't buy VHS that much. We need a new format. What are we gonna do?
Well, it's the thing. It was like what between Betamax and DVD at the time.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
the porn industry was already
VHS.
going toward DVD.
Wow, are we
we're not-
derailed?
We're talking about after
porn.
VHS.
Let's
because
just
the director,
right.
Because
Yeah.
the director directed
Now then.
porn.
the director is a master of erector.
The
And he-
director is a master of erector. Where's
then also
some
next-
horns?
Wow.
Next one we'll
10
go to
points from Gryffindor
DVD.
for that. Holy fuck.
Wait
now
a
the
second,
next-
I'm a Slytherin.
Next one we went to DVD HD.
That's okay. I'm the Potions
like
Master.
between
10 points
DVD
for
HD
Gryffindor.
and Blu-ray.
That's what
Well,
Dark is
porn
saying.
driven it toward Blu-ray because you can fit a lot more content onto a Blu-ray disc than DVD HD.
Better quality, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
No one needs high quality porn.
but I mean, check. I mean, you got to think about right the evolution of the cell phone, right? I mean, cell
Mm.
phones were super small, and then you can start watching porn on your phone, and now we have 12-inch screens, and
Yeah.
Let's be
high
real. Let's be real.
definition.
Everybody
I
flocked
mean,
to Apple because of the no virus thing.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You can browse whatever shady site you want and you're fine.
Right.
Yep, that's why
Incognito
iPhones are
mode.
so popular.
Incognito on your phone, on your browser phone. Nobody's gonna find you.
Yeah, they
Oh my
will.
god.
Yeah, they will.
The guy watching you is just like,
Okay.
dude, you have some questionable taste.
See you, dark.
No comment.
Anyway, when the movie came out, when Moonchild came out, there was a lot of, as you guys have already alluded to, a lot of overtures, a lot of talk about the homoeroticism of the film. Gackt has never come out and specifically said that that was what he intended when he wrote the film. But obviously, if that's what you take from it, that could be it. But yeah, just there are a lot of
I
people
choose
that
to take that from that film because it is right there. They laid it down. I'm picking it up.
Well, I mean,
I
you
am
got
able to add to this.
go ahead.
I can expand upon this. See, he's never come out and said he's bisexual, but in his Malice Miser days, there were a lot of concerts and video footage of him kissing and straddling Mana from the band, who is also responsible for designing the dresses of the Lolita brand Moi Même Moi Te.
Mm.
By the way, they are classy dresses, and he wears them, or used to anyway. Now he wears regular men's clothes, but used to, and they look fire.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, but he didn't deny it either. He didn't come out and say it wasn't.
Well, I
So
mean,
you
all he
kind of
said was that he doesn't care about his partner as long as they're good in bed.
we
I
were
mean,
gonna
that
put
speaks
that
for itself right there.
right. We were gonna go ahead and slide that in there somewhere, and I'm glad you got that right where we needed it to be.
All
Way
he
to drive
wants-
that point home there,
There's
Daddy.
also some speculation
Oh.
that Hyde is bisexual, so there may have
That's it.
been some
All-
backroom shenanigans.
Like all he wants is sexual chemistry. That's all he wants.
Right.
I mean, that's a lot to. That's not a lot to ask for. I don't think.
No.
So
I mean, there is one thing that I can kind of see. I didn't come across this in my research, but just me watching it, I kind of thought about it, which is why I can kind of see him not being comfortable coming out and saying, yes, they were in a loving relationship, because it's 100% grooming. Like,
Yeah, because I mean,
100%.
yeah, it's because they never even tell you how old Hyde actually is. Like, he could be hundreds of years old. He could only be like decades old. Either way, he's a lot older. He was already an adult when Show was a child. So, yeah.
And then that's the thing. If they didn't meet when Show was a kid, if they met when Show was already 20, it would have been very different. It would have still been grooming a little bit because obviously he turned him into a vampire, but then they kill each other at the end. It's not like they spend their lives together as vampires, so that's like kind of okay when it comes to that. But anything romantic coming from I'm hanging out with you since you're 8 years old is really creepy.
But
So
Also,
one thing
it's
is,
the societal views. There's not like a very open LGBT community in Japan.
Well,
It's not
especially
something that's
in
really
this time that
discussed.
this was made.
Yeah,
So-
especially like 2003, it was
Right.
kind of a big taboo. Like, obviously, there's like yaoi, yuri, it's acceptable in like a media format, but not so acceptable societally to like be like out in public. Well, you don't really do public displays of affection in general,
right.
because
but that's especially egregious back then.
But yeah, like if you were to go out and hold your girlfriend's hand and you're a guy, that's one thing. If you're a guy and you're holding your boyfriend's hand in public, then they're gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, whoa, what the hell?"
Right.
well, then, one thing I will say about the relationship, at the end, he did not forcefully turn him through a loving interest himself. He did it out of love for the fact of he wanted him to see Hannah grow up, is what I want to say, and also he wants to spend his final days with his lover too.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cute though.
I will.
Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. So,
Can we talk about how old Hyde is?
Yes,
Sure.
please
Oh.
do this. I need to like the world needs to know. This is amazing.
Yes.
He's 52 at the moment.
so he was
He was
older.
Right.
He was born in 69. So in
Nice.
2003, yeah, nice, 69. So in 2003, he was 34.
Wow.
He looks like he was, 21.
Yeah, in his 20s for sure.
Clean living.
And again, they both mostly look exactly the same.
Now.
Vampires. They made a film about it.
He does have a
Okay.
band called the Vamps. So,
Right.
I mean, it's not like they're hiding.
Right.
No,
Hyde
they
isn't
very
hiding.
much are not. They came right out and said it.
Right.
They just cloaked it as,
In plain sight,
sure,
right.
it's a movie.
Right.
Yeah.
No trivia also. I'm tempted to believe it was Woody Harrelson. I've only seen it a handful of times, so I'm drawing a blank. There was another movie that was widely released in America. It was on Netflix for a while. It's called Bunraku, which also has Gackt in it, and he plays a samurai. And I really do believe it's Woody Harrelson. He plays like a cowboy type of guy, so it's like samurai cowboy genre, and it
I think I
actually
remember that.
it's wild. It's a good movie.
All right, so let's get this thing wrapped up. Final thoughts. Let's talk about some final thoughts, and then we'll talk about who's going next week.
Potions.
Stealth. Final thoughts on the movie.
It was an interesting watch. Would I recommend it to people? Yes, I would. Would I recommend it to mainstream people? Probably not that much. But if you have a weird fascination, like, hey, what's the weirdest movie you've ever seen? Watch this movie.
Or you got weird friends.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're referring to, Sean.
Or if all of your friends happen to be vampires.
Right. Right.
Another weird
Hey, I
fact.
have a vampire
Hey,
movie
it's
you
called
might never
Moonchild
see.
because there's vampires in there. You're children of the moons.
Mm,
Yeah, I thought about that during this. I just thought about that.
okay. Crimson,
But
what you
yeah,
got?
I
Final
would-
thoughts?
That secret out stealth. You're terrible at stealth. God. Why do you
That's
think we
not
always film at
stealthy.
night?
He would be the guy that got kitchen tattooed and was thinking he was a ninja.
Oh wow.
Probably.
Okay. Potions, what you
Come
got?
on, come on, N7 stealth hoodie wearer.
Hey, you
Hey.
can't even see. Well, you sort of can see the N7.
N7.
You can sort of.
I can.
It's
Kind of a little
stealthy.
bit. It's hidden.
It's better
It's
at stealth
classy.
than StealthKing is.
Oh, geez.
What?
He's the 500
Oh.
stealthy person out of like all the stealthy people. So there's still
Alright,
499 people more stealthier than him.
Okay.
Those are the kitchen ninjas.
Exactly.
Potions.
Come on.
Final thoughts on Moonchild. Let's go.
Final thoughts on Moonchild is I'm really glad I got to see this. Not gonna lie, I was lost during a lot of it just because I'm like, the time jumps. Why are we doing such ginormous time jumps? But, it was a good movie just to be entertained, and it's an even better movie to watch with your friends, so you can just basically do this and just pick it apart and be like, I did like this part, and I didn't like this part, and this part's just what the fuck? But, this part's really cute too, and honestly, I really did like it a lot more than I thought I was going to.
I will say this one more thing. The best transition they had. A few years later.
Oh,
A few
right.
years
And we
later.
all said it. We all read that. We all said it.
all
Like,
did.
oh, a few years later.
A few years later.
Right. Crimson,
You know what
ready?
that was it slapping.
It slaps.
Okay,
It
I'll
slaps.
go with my final thoughts. Like I liked it. It was definitely. I mean, I love watching foreign films. So I don't get a chance to do it as often.
Did you say horror or porn?
I was thinking foreign.
Foreign.
But he says foreign.
Foreign. Okay.
Where's your mind? Take it out of the gutter.
You're gonna get the chance now, Sean. You're gonna get the chance now.
We're
Right.
thinking about pink. That's why.
So,
Crimson's fault.
like
She
I
wore
said,
white.
it
She
was
turned herself pink.
wow. Now it's gonna be the pink scholar, the pink shield scholar. You guys are killing me. So yeah, like I said, it was
Look at her
good.
face.
I definitely enjoyed it. Especially, I mean, you guys had echoed it. It's really fun to watch with other people. Elf, I'm glad you picked it because it's definitely It was when I saw, because we watched it on YouTube. So actually, you guys could actually go check this out if you're interested in what we're talking about today. You could actually go to YouTube, plug it in, and you can check it out. And if you are watching this on YouTube, I'll make sure that link is in the description below.
It will be the best 2 hours of your life.
I would say
And
I would not
popcorn.
make it. I would not have made it through by myself.
Right. Like
Me
I said,
personally, I would not have made it through.
you know, like I said, even though I did like it, I did love the company. I definitely, you know, the cinematography, you know, the pacing of it. Understand it is, you know, 2003, so we're close to 20 years. You know, we're like 18 years old at this point. So if you are somebody that loves movies, just understand the timing when it was. It is an indie foreign film that had only a $3 million budget. But it was a good watch. It was a good watch, and obviously made for really good conversation. So, Crimson, we're ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
I've been trying to
So I
get you this
found
whole
out-
time. Like, go, Crimson. Okay, go.
I found out one other cool fun fact as I was researching. This is only for my fellow Bioware fans, is that Gackt did the theme song for the Dragon Age Dawn of the Seeker.
Oh, nice, very nice.
And he voiced the Knight Commander, but only in the Japanese version, not the English version. So, yeah.
He can do Japanese Knight Commander Cullen. I'll approve of that.
He is, and his sex appeal has made him a worldwide phenomenon, according to his biography. I don't know about that, but at least in Japan, he's very well known.
Right.
So the cinematography is fascinating. I definitely like I mentioned at the beginning, the change from the 4:3 to the widescreen. I thought that was really cool. It definitely allowed the passage of time. There were some interesting shot choices, whether it was very close up on someone's groin area, very close up on faces, and then it went even closer and closer and closer. Some really weird wide shots, like they were from a roof of a building. They were on a roof of a building and shooting down below on the street because they could, I guess. Like you could tell that
footage.
they
Why
really
shoot something once when you can shoot it 47 more times?
the B-roll was insane. Like there's one time when they were like, literally, you can tell that they were driving down the street and just hung the camera out of the car and were just like rolling to get the street level shot as they were doing it. Oh my god, I literally had that thought as I was watching because I did not watch it with friends, so I could not talk about it. And I was just
We
like,
missed you.
We did.
I know.
Whose fault was that? Having to
Mine.
travel. Pish.
Easter. It was Easter's fault. It was the church's fault.
That's true.
Yes.
Okay, fair. I will
And I was
give you
just
that.
like,
Everything's-
B-roll. The
Oh, yeah,
B-roll
that-
in this film is fantastic,
oh,
and
yeah.
I just wanted to be on their secondary director team, photography team, but I doubt they even have a secondary photography team.
No, they barely had a first.
Yeah. So that was really
Barely
interesting.
had a camera.
I thought it was really interesting, the costumings. I know I talked about that a little bit too, but we never really got into the fact that like the two thugs that killed Toshi and then the two young teenagers both wore red and blue. And so I'm not exactly sure what that signifies because I'm not super well versed in Asian culture, but like one was literally dressed in all red and one was literally dressed in all blue. And the two guys that were older, I literally thought that they were reincarnated into these two teenagers because I was like, they are exactly the same characters, but obviously they're not because years progressed and they were teenagers, but they could have been reincarnated.
They could have been brothers.
Yeah, no, I
They're
definitely thought
vampires and just didn't age.
oh, a younger brother. Yeah, no, that's true. They could have done that.
I like my vampire theory.
And then, so I thought the costume choices were interesting. They definitely went to raves. They definitely invested in some mesh bodysuits going underneath there, which I thought was took me back to the early 2000s. And I also I wanted to mention about why I did not think Chan's death was so whatchamacallit?
Anticlimactic.
Yeah. Because if you've watched our shows before, you know that I am very much a cinephile. So I try, when I watch films, to try to get some sort of subtext or meaning out of them. So as I was watching this, the beginning was weird, but then as it got through, I was like, okay, so what's the purpose and what's the point? And of course there was the political message about Asian communities hating one another, about the difference between a Taiwanese and a Japanese, about how there's always been eons long fights between mainland China and Japan. And so they have that whole idea of like, we are all one human race, but obviously even as we are all dying and there's economic collapse, we're still going to fight each other and we're still going to hate each other, which is kind of funny and showcased in Yi-Chen's Can't We All Just Get Along, because that's kind of, I think, what Gackt might feel, because I think, as Elf said, he's a product of half and half, maybe half Japanese, half Cantonese, I think. Yeah, so that's kind of maybe a treaty, because he wrote it, so maybe that's kind of his idea of saying, hey, I come from a blended family. We kind of made it work, or I am the product of two different worlds. Can we not just all get along? So it was definitely about that. And then I was also like, what's the point of everybody dying? Like, there has to be a point. There has to be some sort of overarching theme or message about the realities of life, or why everybody gets taken away. And like, obviously from a plot point perspective, they were taken away because they had to peel away who Sho was as a person, and to make him more and more vulnerable, eventually to the point where he, got so vulnerable that he had to be turned into a vampire. But I think the other thing about it is just the inevitability of death is kind of the full overarching theme of this, because even those who are immortal eventually get tired of life and want to just kill themselves or experience death. And that death isn't always grand, and death isn't always grandiose. Sometimes it just happens because something happens to you and you can't control it, aka Yi-Chen with the brain tumor. Or sometimes you are just shot in the head by teenagers that you think are your friends, and they just go and do it. So it's inevitability of death, and just the idea that you're never going to escape it, no matter what happens. It's just not going to be a cool thing. So it's definitely campy. It's definitely comedic, even though it might not be intended to be. I liked it. I appreciated Elf deciding to have us watch this, because I never would have watched it without him telling me to do so. And it was really cool. And I definitely say, if you have 2 hours and you want to kind of delve into a 4 indie film, this is not a bad choice. So
For sure.
Elf Daddy.
I think I've made a lot of my thoughts known. This is, again, one of my favorites, and I really love it. And, I guess it just never really gets old for me. But going off what Caitlin said about like the red and blue and like what that might signify, it reminded me of another angle I've never thought of. There was a lot of white. And in Japan, unlike here where black is associated with death,
White
their
is
color is
associated
white.
with death.
Right.
So a lot of people died around Sho, so I think that's mostly the significance of why he wore so much white. Because it was like he was, in a sense, death personified. Like, his friends died, his family died, people around him died, everybody died.
Yeah.
So
And then there was that one bullet hole in that coat, and he was like, "Grrrah!"
But also, I think the pop of the blood on it also had significance too, because K's color was red. It was the association. So the more blood he got on him, felt like it was more of a connection between the two, in a sense.
I mean, maybe it
Visually
could have
speaking, yeah.
signified the fact that he was turning into a monster, like he saw K was.
You don't have to be a vampire to be a monster.
Right. Well,
Indeed.
So, okay.
But he is a monster, even in the non-vampire sense, right? You get, the more blood he got on him, the more angry he got, the more despondent he got.
Right.
So
Right.
Yeah, it was definitely a bloodlust kind of thing. Like, more chaotic, more reckless.
That
Disconnect from
2.5
humanity.
9-year-old kid from the beginning going,
Yeah, that creepy ass grin. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it was meant to be like a super cute, friendly thing, but then
It
they
was.
focused way too much on it, got too close, and it was like,
He was supposed to just be a cute little kid smile, but you can tell that he probably had like his 50,000th take or whatever, and the kid's like, I'm done smiling.
Right.
please don't make me smile anymore.
"There, I'm
And they're like,
smiling now."
This is the one we're gonna use.
Right. Okay, so that guys was Moonchild. Again, Elf that decided to pick that. You guys got our final thoughts on it. Obviously, we'd like to know what you guys thought about it. Of course, I'll go ahead and put time codes in there because Caitlin loves time codes. So you guys can jump around.
Time codes are great.
I'll try to jump around and put stuff in there so you guys can kind of, because the video is obviously going to be close to 3 hours long. This went longer. Actually, we went 30
So an hour
minutes.
past the
It's me
actual
2.5.
runtime of the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. We went 30 minutes into whatever. So we'll probably get this thing cut down to like 2 hours and 15 minutes. Regardless, I'll go ahead and put time codes in there, especially towards our final thoughts, so whoever's watching this could just skip around. So obviously those are our final thoughts on Moonchild. I think everybody was in a consensus that is definitely a great watch to check out. Better with friends if you can, especially if you are, they're into movies. And I keep wanting to say cinephile, but it makes me want to say the other word, and I'm just like, well, I don't. So yes, if you are into movies, foreign films, and things like that, like I said, go ahead and check it out.
Necrophile. That's what you were thinking, right? Necrophile?
Yeah, that's it.
That-
It's just, but I'm like, it says, if you love movies, if you love movies, especially foreign films, you're into that whole thing, the vampire thing. There's so many different levels of thought processes, and I've actually felt like I've learned a lot just even discussing it after the fact, or even coming in with different types of perspectives on certain scenes. Because as you talk about the death, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it wasn't anticlimactic. Maybe it was purposeful as to why Chan died the way he did. So those are our thoughts, guys. Obviously, what else do we got? Because I don't even know this information yet, because we didn't discuss it beforehand. But next week, PotionsMaster is up next week. So potions, what are we doing next week?
brewing
I know
something.
the answer. Excited.
We are going to lighten the mood and go with a superhero supervillain musical spectacular.
Oh no.
Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog.
Yes.
I've never heard of it. Okay.
It's one of my favorites.
Oh my god, you're gonna love it.
Okay.
Nathan Fillion stars as Captain Hammer. Felicia Day stars as the innocent female lead, Penny. And then Neil Patrick Harris definitely takes the stage as Dr. Horrible. He has a PhD in horribleness.
Don't forget our sweaty friend.
Oh yes, and Simon Helberg is Moist. That's his
Moist.
sidekick, doing anything
It's
with
the
like
worst
damp or
name.
soggy and then the ultimate badass Bamp villain, Bad Horse, the thoroughbred
The
of
thoroughbred
sin.
of sin.
Wow.
Bad horse, bad horse, bad horse, he's bad.
Okay.
Anyway.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
It is fan-fucking-tastic.
It'll be
Okay.
And
something.
I really hope we watch this one together too, because
hope
my
so,
god,
too.
it's amazing.
We have to. We absolutely have to. And I submit that we do a second version of it with the sing-along mode enabled, because I'm not going to be able to not sing.
Right? I was gonna say, holy
Sorry,
shit, the
in
soundtrack
advance.
is so fire. It slaps.
I have it on CD.
I never got the CD. I had it on iTunes, and then they took it off iTunes, and I'm like, you guys are evil.
That's because they're bitches.
So now I have to get it on YouTube, and I'm like, well, that's
Yeah.
fine. At least I have it.
Okay. So
Slaps.
hashtag. What did you just do?
It slaps. The entire
Hashtag.
soundtrack
Hashtag it slaps.
Okay.
I'm making a
What was that thing you guys do? I can't do that one. Wait.
Awkward turtle?
Yeah. Wait. I gotta do the crimson wave. I'm sorry, because that makes sense. An awkward turtle upside down. Sorry, potions.
Or as I did, awkward wolves.
Oh, don't do the awkward turkey. Don't do the awkward turkey.
No, but I
No.
can do that. Snail.
Oh my god. All right, guys, let's go ahead and take care of some business. It is always a pleasure hanging out with you guys again. Together we are the Shadow Pack Squares, but if you're interested into the Crimson Shield Scholar, you have questions, comments, or emotional outbursts, where can they find you, Crimson?
You can find me on all the social medias. You can find me on Twitch at Crimson Shield Scholar. You can find me on Instagram at Crimson Shield Scholar. Gamerized at Crimson Shield Scholar. You can find me on Twitter at Crimson S Scholar. That's it.
All right.
I'm Caitlin in Discord, but it's fine.
Right. Elf Daddy. If they have any questions, comments, or
Elf
emotional
Daddy.
outbursts for you, where can they find you, Elf?
I am elf__daddy on Twitch.
2
I
underscores.
am YukiOG1 on Twitter because Elf Daddy was already taken.
Oh, boo.
Double
I'm
boo.
let's see. On Instagram, I think is Elf Daddy TTV because Elf Daddy was also taken. On Gamerized, I don't rightly know what my name is. I'm pretty sure it's probably Elf Daddy.
Oh
Yeah.
my.
Okay.
And I'm on Discord as Elf Daddy.
Underscore.
Potion Masters, if they have any questions, comments, or emotional outbursts for you, where can they find you?
They can turn to page 394.
In the
Anyways.
textbook?
Yes. Anyways, they can find me on Twitch at PotionsMaster66, Gamerized at PotionsMaster66, Twitter, shocking everybody, I know, PotionsMaster66. I have a Facebook page. You can find me under PotionsMaster66 or Enter the Cauldron. And just to disrupt the continuum, if you want to hit me up on Discord, it is just strictly PotionsMaster, all lowercase and one word.
Okay. Strike a pose. Stealth.
Yeah.
Anybody
Well,
has questions, comments, or emotional outbursts for you, sir, where can they find you?
On Twitch and Gameriah, StealthKing 500. On Twitter, StealthKing 5000. On Instagram, Picard 700. On YouTube, StealthKing 500. And Discord, Shadow Orc.
We're going to have to write all that stuff
So-
down in the description below. That's a lot.
The
Bruh.
orc, shadow orc, orcing as only shadows can.
All right. My name is SeanFlac 2.0, and you can find me on, or if you have any, I got to do it, any questions, comments, or emotional outbursts for me, you can find me at SeanFlac on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram, SeanFlac 2.0, because there's 2 of us on there apparently. The other one's me too, just to be very clear. Obviously, you can find me here on Twitch. Again, twitch.tv/SeanFlac. Amazingly enough, nobody just took my name on Twitch. And then, of course, the most is obviously Twitter. If you guys actually any real questions, comments, or emotional outbursts, you guys can find me there. So
Go insane.
I have a question.
Go ahead. What is your question?
When do we get our It Slaps merch?
We could work on that.
We'll bring it up at the
Yay.
meeting tomorrow.
Right.
We'll bring it up to the meeting tomorrow.
It'll be the squares after dark.
That's a different. That's a.
That's over on Camster or OnlyFans.
Right.
No,
We're gonna host
it's
that
on,
on Adult
Only
Swim.
Shadow Pack.
no, it's on Glimmesh or Glimmesh.
Oh, Glimmesh.
Right. Yeah.
You can find me on
agree.
Glimmesh.
Let's put it on OnlyFans so it's like content appropriate.
And you know what? We could do free subscriptions on OnlyFans, just so you know.
And then if we get big and popular, we can do like paid subscriptions,
Yes.
which is just goofy selfies and like behind the scenes stuff.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. OnlyFans doesn't have to be sexual.
No, it does not.
That's
A
true.
lot of people have a misconception about that.
So what you're describing is Patreon.
No, because Patreon doesn't have the OnlyFans.
And
Like, if you have an OnlyFans, it's credible, boy.
I think you also
sure.
have to have a minimum. Like you can't subscribe as a Patreon without paying. So like you
Yeah.
have to have the dollar.
minimum has to be $1. Minimum.
Right.
$1.
Yeah, see, so we're not trying to do it. Anyway, that, folks, is our episode. Thank you for joining us this week. Again, thank you, Crimson. Thank you, Elf. Thank you, Potions. Thank you, Stealth. My name is SeanFlac 2.0. And together, we are the Shadow Pack Squares. And until the next episode. And we got to say it together. So I've been wanting to say this. So you guys know what we're going to say, right? So, all right.
Are we gonna say It Slaps?
No, stay sharp.
Oh.
Stay square.
And until the next episode,
It's just
1,
to be
2, 3, stay
Stay
sharp.
Stay sharp.
Come on, guys. We got to rehearse that.
It's
We gotta
slap.
work on that.
Later, guys.
I'm